This episode is sponsored by Ridge. Still carrying around your crusty, overstuffed old wallet? It's time for an upgrade. Take your wallet game to the next level with the new Ridge 2.0. It's sleek, modern, and made from high-performance materials like titanium and carbon fiber. Plus, a Ridge wallet is the best way to protect your credit and debit cards, with built-in RFID blocking technology to stop digital pickpockets in their tracks. And for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Get up to 47% off your order by going to ridge.com. Again, that's ridge.com for their biggest sale of the year.
Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
How's it? It's Josh Lee Kwai.
And today we continue our discussions about Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is the In the 99 episode. We're going to be talking about all of the cards that go into your decks, the ones you need to know, the ones you need to be ready to play against, and there are a lot in this set.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the last time there were this many cards from a set that we felt like we had to talk about. This thing is chock full.
I tried to cut it down. Yeah. I did.
But there's too many where it's like, well, we got to talk about that one. There's a lot of cool stuff in this set. Very exciting. Let's just jump right into it.
Absolutely.
I'm going to apologize right at the top. I am not a big Last Airbender. I just haven't watched the whole series. Yeah. I've caught an episode here or there with friends, so I may pronounce some of the names wrong.
Oh, I can help out with that.
Do my best. Okay.
The first card we're going to start with today is Sozin's Comet. This is 3 red for a sorcery. It says each creature you control gains Firebending 5 until end of turn. So for those who haven't read, Firebending is whenever this creature attacks, you add that many red mana. This mana lasts until the end of combat. So it lasts through blockers and damage and all of that, but you have to spend it before you leave the combat step. And it has Foretell, 2, and a red.
So it's restricted mana. This is a lot of mana. Potentially a lot, but you could only use it at instant speed, basically.
Right.
Kind of Braid of Fire was the first thing I thought of that sort of fits a similar mold.
I think that's fair. We're going to be talking about firebending a little bit today. I wanted to kind of group some of the big firebending cards together because a lot of the same things are going to be reasons that you would put this in the deck.
Right.
So the other one I wanted to mention here was Iroh, Dragon of the West. Mm-hmm. This card's very cool. This is 2 red for a legendary creature, human noble ally. It's 4/4 with haste and has Mentor, which is very flavorful. And then it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, each creature you control with a counter on it gains Firebending 2 until end of turn. So this is a similar thing, but it's a permanent, so you can do this over multiple turns.
Right.
But basically, the restrictions for are these cards good is can you use firebending mana?
Yeah, can you use a lot of mana at instant speed? That's basically the question that you want to ask yourself. Mm-hmm. First, I think there's 2 questions. One, do I have enough creatures that will be attacking that this will do anything? And then given that the answer to that is yes, the second part you also have to say yes to, which is can I spend a lot of mana at instant speed?
Right. And the number of creatures that make it worth it, it sort of scales for what your sinks are. If you have a really good, a Staff of Domination that you can put just any amount of mana in, then the wider you go, the better.
Right.
But if you have an instant or if you have some ways to use your mana or tap abilities, then maybe it doesn't matter if you have 10 creatures. It's fine if you only have 3 with Firebending 5.
You're saying I'm going to get a little bit of mana and I'll be able to use it. Although Sozin's Comet is it being a sorcery, a one-time use thing. Mm-hmm. I think you need to say it's Mana Geyser-esque, but Mana Geyser in that if it said you could only spend the mana on instant or instant speed stuff. So you wouldn't play this to just get 5 mana. It costs 5 mana, right? So Let's say you had 2 attacking creatures. You play 5 mana to get 10 restricted mana. I don't think that's probably a scenario that you're going to be excited about putting in a deck for. So I think with Sozin's Comet specifically, you're in a deck that's going to be attacking with probably 4+ creatures decently often in a game.
Yeah, I would think so.
To make that feel good. I think Iroh is different because it's incremental over the course of many turns. Mm-hmm. You could be okay being a couple extra mana here and there is really good. If I do get one big burst, I hope I have a chance to use it. But even if some of that goes to waste, I have a high enough density of instants in my deck to do that. But Sozin's Comet is pretty specific, very powerful because you could get 30 extra mana.
Yeah.
That's win the game amount of mana.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have a Goblins deck that makes 15 creatures really easily, but you also need that way to spend the mana. So
does the Goblins deck
sides.
also... So the Goblins deck has the yes answer to the first question, am I attacking with a lot of creatures, but it kind of doesn't have a yes answer to the second question. Can I use it a bunch of mana at instant speed?
Right. One of the best commanders that I thought for a Sozin's Comet is Perforos, God of the Forge.
Yeah.
Because this says, yes, you have a lot of creatures entering the battlefield, and yes, you have a place to put all that mana, because Perforos also has a mana sink on him that pumps all of your creatures when they attack.
Yeah, and with Firebending, just to get it, you are attacking with a bunch of creatures, and you're in combat when you get the mana, so you can always just be like, cool, I'll just put it into Perforos and pump all this stuff. Yeah, I think basically any commander that has a mana sink on it is going to be good, right? Because it at least gives you some place to put the mana, even if it's not the most efficient. If you're just going to get 25 mana just to say, like, I'll never be in a situation where I'm looking at this card being like, I can't really play it because I can't do anything with the mana once I get it.
That was what I was looking for, was creatures with mana sinks on them that are known to have a fair amount of creatures in the deck.
Yeah.
So like Locust God was one that I look at.
Another really great one, right?
Yeah, because you make all those insects, you attack with them, they all have firebending, and you can dump all of that mana into the Locust God activation, which is a little spendy, and you do need that blue mana, but if you make a whole bunch more bugs out of it, that makes for a really powerful turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, it's a mana sink on the commander. And the fact that it sort of makes more creatures to attack with more things is like right into the plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you also have Sliver Overlord on here, which is another commander that's basically says if any amount of mana you can use it, you just make slivers with it.
Yeah.
I thought there's also a whole slew of commanders that now these days that say like you don't lose mana when steps and phases end. So like Electro Assaulting Batteries from Spider-Man, but there's also Ashling Flame Dancer. There's a bunch of these.
Yeah.
And these would all allow you to just keep that mana around and then use it at sorcery speed. You don't need to answer yes to the second question anymore. Your commander gave you. So it's funny, you put down a bunch of commanders that give you the yes answer to the second question.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, how about I just take that question away and all I'll have to do is like, am I attacking with enough creatures to make this worth it? And some of them maybe not. Maybe Electro is not set up to attack with enough creatures for that to really get enough out of the firebending. And it just depends on how your deck is built. We always say this in the 99 episodes, but it's important that you look at cards that go in the 99, not so much as like, can I build a deck around this card, as do I have a deck or am I working on a deck with this card would be good for? And maybe you make a couple of tweaks to the other cards in the 99 to make it work, but you don't want to like totally reconstitute your deck to make one card in the 99 work. You want your deck to already be close to it, and maybe like you fiddle with 4 or 5 cards to make it, good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Undoubtedly very powerful, though. I play a lot of Mana Geyser in my higher powered decks.
This feels like a decent answer for like what a more synergistic Mana Geyser looks like, and one that you really have to build around a little bit more, where Mana Geyser is like pretty good in any deck that can spend that amount of mana.
Yeah, you're never going to be sad having a Mana Geyser in your deck. You'll always get a big, explosive turn out of it. This you have to work a little bit harder for, but the upside is you could get more mana, but also you could get less, so it's... Yeah, it's very splashy.
Give and take. Sozin's Comet, very powerful, very ambitious, just like Sozin himself. Let's move on to the next card in the set, which has already been heralded as one of the most powerful cards for sure in the set.
Yeah, I think at least within the command zone, and I think out there in the greater community, this next card is the card that everybody sort of is like, did you see Badgermole Cub?
Yeah.
That is what people are saying. They're saying it in those tones. Badgermole Cub is 1 and a green for a 2/2 Badgermole. It says when this creature enters Earthbend 1, Earthbend means you target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste. It's still a land. You put a 1/1 counter on it. And then when it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Now, if it was Earthbend 2, you'd obviously put 2+1/+1 counters and so on. And the Badgermole Cub also says, whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. Now, remember, if you've turned a land into a creature with Earthbending, that is now a creature. When you tap it for mana, because it's still a land, it will see that second ability from Badgermole Cub and create 2 mana. So this is 2 mana for a 2/2. Turn your land into a 1/1, which becomes a mana dork that taps for 2.
Right. It only nets you 1 mana because you're turning a land into a creature that taps for 1 positive. So because your land already taps for mana, but still, this is a 2 mana creature that gives you 2 bodies.
Yep.
A 2/2 and a 1/1. It gives you a mana creature that taps for 2 mana, so it gives you an additional mana there, and it enhances all of the other mana creatures in your deck, which if you're running a lot of Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystics, your deck is already quite powerful and explosive, and this thing just turbocharges that.
Yeah, absolutely. It affects all your other stuff. So there's two kind of decks that feel like they really, really want it. And that's decks that are turning their lands into creatures and decks that are playing a lot of mana dorks.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of those decks that fit that Venn diagram.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, myself included, immediately kind of thought of Keenan a little bit. Now, not the exact same, but like Keenan, one of the most powerful commanders in the format, CEDH card, obviously. And, slight differences, but Badgermole Cub goes in the 99, is monocolored, in some ways better on its own than Keenan is. But anything that's sort of like, hey, this reminds me of this other card that's like one of the most powerful cards there is, that's usually a good signpost that is a good card.
For sure. Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of Badgermole Cub. The earlier in the game, the like more afraid I am of it, because that burst of mana is just unbelievable.
In some respects, it could be more powerful later, not seeing it coming, right? You get 3 or 4 mana dorks out. It looks kind of bad, but then they go, boom, Badgermole Cub. It's twice as bad as it looked.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of, it can be a burst of mana that like surprises opponents and you're making a move they didn't expect at a time they weren't ready for. So I think it has both modes. I think, a lot of cards are very powerful at certain points in the game. Hey, if it's in your opening hand, it's really, really good. But I think Badgermole Cub is actually just fine later if your deck is built to use it.
Right.
Yeah. If you put it in the wrong deck and it's kind of just like its own thing and it's only kind of there to make the mana dork, it's still probably fine in that instance. Like, would you just play, a 2 mana rock or something? This is kind of like, this could do a fine stand-in for that.
Yeah, it is a 2 mana thing that gives you an additional mana that turn. And I want to say that like Earthbending is very powerful. Just having this creature that you can chump block with that gives you another landfall ability is like perfectly good all on its own. And the fact that this makes 2 bodies is just absurd. It's going to be great in 1v1. I think it'll also be very strong in Commander. But we've got a lot more powerful cards that we're going to talk about in this episode. If you want to pick up Badgermole Cub already or any of the cards we're going to talk about today, you can support the show while you're shopping if you go to cardkingdom.com/command. Card Kingdom has a huge selection of singles, sealed product. If you're an Avatar fan like me, there's a bunch of cool cards for you already. If you're a fan of cool, powerful cards like Josh, there's also a whole bunch of cards for you. And Card Kingdom has a ton of them all in one place. The way that I shop for sets like this is I wait until all of those prices have come down. I know what cards I want. I know what cards I didn't open at the pre-release. And I just buy them all at once. And Card Kingdom is a really good place to do that because you get one big package with all the cards that you're looking for. So shop using our affiliate code and you support the show. cardkingdom.com/command.
Of course, once you get those cards, you want to protect them. Ultra Pro is the game accessories brand that we trust our own collections to here at the Command Zone. If you go to ultrapro.com/command, you can find all kinds of cool products that fit your deck or theme, like the Mana 8 line, which is awesome. It has all the mana symbols singly on each item, so you can find like blue playmat, blue deck box, blue sleeves, blue, just chosen at random. It could be any of the colors that you like. There's even a 5-color one, Lotus. I really like the Mana 8 line because it's super classy looking and also works really well if you're going to events and getting things signed and stuff like that. So again, ultrapro.com/command. And I should say, they have an awesome newsletter. They have discounts there all the time. It is a website that, I go back to at least once a week just to see, like, do they got any discounts going on? Because they change them all the time. So definitely check that out.
Plus, they've helped us out with a brand new playmat.
Oh, yes. Speaking of Ultra Pro, we have launched a Kickstarter for a brand new Game Nights playmat. It's actually 2 playmats.
It is. They're gorgeous. This is art from Justine Jones. It's dragon art. It's big. It's swirly. It's life. It's death. It's colorful. It's everything that you love about Justine Jones art and, of course, dragons themselves.
Yeah, the 2 playmats combine to form one overall image. Of course, on the Kickstarter, you can get the playmat singly. You can get them signed. You can get them unsigned. And we also have a really special foiling process. We worked really hard with Ultra Pro, trying out multiple different colors, different where the foiling goes exactly. We really worked hard to make sure that follows the contours of the artwork and is in exactly the right thickness to like look really cool.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, the foil is amazing, I gotta say. Again, the show notes will have the link to that Kickstarter if you want to support Game Nights and get a couple of really awesome playmats.
And you can support the show directly by joining our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/commandzone, that's a great way to support the show. But the Kickstarter is the coolest way to support us
right now.
Now. So
do them both. Do them both.
Do them both. Why not? Why not?
Another perk of being a patron is that we call out one lucky patron every single episode. And this episode is dedicated to Matt Gardner.
Matt,
you rock.
You rock.
Okay. lot more cards to go over here.
So many. We're starting with a cycle. Well, most of a cycle.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that at the end. There's an Ascension Cycle, which is a callback to, you may know of like Beastmaster Ascension, Bloodchief Ascension, Luminarch Ascension. These are all cards that see a lot of play in Commander. And then there's a Bending Ascension, I guess we could call it.
Yeah, an Abention.
Yes.
We did it. So
I didn't know you were going to bring the dad jokes.
We got it. So the way that I was evaluating these is the way that I kind of looked at the old Ascensions, which was how easy is it to get quest counters is the first thing. How many quest counters do you need? And how powerful is the resulting effect?
Right.
And does it have an effect before the quest counters are even on it? So,
right.
like,
is the
those
quest
are the
counter
big
part
things.
kind of gravy? Because these, the way these work, I guess the old ones, some of them do this too. Sometimes they do something when they come in and then the quest counter can kind of accrue and you get additional effect.
Right.
Yeah, the first one definitely does that. It's Airbender Ascension.
Yeah.
It's an enchantment for 1 and a white. It says when it enters, you airbend up to 1 target creature. Airbending is you exile the thing and then the owner of the thing can pay 2 to cast it later on. So it's kind of like a weird bounce. You can do it. Now, airbending sometimes is restricted to your stuff or anybody's stuff. This one's an anybody's stuff thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this case, the dream is you airbend somebody else's stuff. Like, I suppose if you're worried about this next part, you could airbend your own thing, but
yeah, see,
able to,
this is
like,
why Rachel and I are different. My dream is to airbend my own stuff because I want to airbend my Muldrifter and then just pay 2 to get it back out and draw 2 more.
I want to airbend my opponent's commander so they can't attack with it next turn and have a tempo hit. So
Yeah, see, but if it's me, I was never going to attack with it anyway. I'm like, cool, recast it.
yeah, if they have an attack trigger, it's totally different.
If it was instant speed, I would like the airbending on opponent more because you can do it like as they attack you because they might not attack me, they might attack somebody else.
I really love this card on turn 2. I love this card on turn 2
Yeah.
because it's like somebody plays their Beast Whisperer, they're setting up for a turn where they're going to cast 3 creatures.
You really throw a wrench
and you
in the
just say, like, actually, you have 2 more mana that you need to figure out how to find.
Yeah, now you do want to cast this early because we didn't read the rest of the card. Yeah. And so when it enters, you airbend target creature. And then it says, whenever a creature you control enters, you put a quest counter on this enchantment. And then it says, at the beginning of your end step, if this enchantment has 4 or more quest counters on it, exile up to 1 target creature you control, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it becomes this kind of slow teleportation circle or something. We've seen a lot of cards that kind of do this, that will blink something of yours every turn.
Yeah. Why is it a slow teleportation circle?
Because you have to get 4 quest counters.
Oh, sure. It's a delayed. Yeah.
It's slow because, well, maybe. At the most, it can do teleportation circle. Right? It can do it once per turn because it's an end step trigger. It's not a remove 4 quest counters at any time you feel like it and do this. So it can't do more than 1 blink per your end step, which is what teleportation circle does. But it's probably not going to do that for a little while just because there's additional setup to get it going, right? Like teleportation circle, soul herder, Thassa Deep Dwelling, these all do sort of basically the same thing. But they just do it. This is like, hey, you have to have cleared this additional hurdle and then I'll do that. Yeah. It's not a huge hurdle, but it is a little bit, especially if you airbend somebody else's thing when this comes in. This is not a creature. You didn't get yourself another thing that can enter the battlefield, whereas if you airbend your own, at least you can then cast it. That's a creature entering for the 2. But like, let's say you do this on 2. On your next turn, if you're really lucky, you got 2 creatures out. Probably not, though. So then on the 4th turn, maybe you get 2 there. You got 3 counters on it. So maybe on the next turn it's doing it. Like, it's not quick.
No. It definitely takes a little bit to get set up. The way that I think about it is like on the early turn, if I play this on 2, I'm probably airbending an opponent's thing.
And I don't have anything.
I don't have a creature on turn 1. And if I play this in the late game and I already have my blink engine set up, hypothetically, this is a blink deck. We want blink creatures.
I really, it's hard for me to envision you play this outside of a blink deck, right? Because you can't just want the airbending on the first part of the ability. You have to also want the blink your own stuff part.
Right. You're looking at this as an additional teleportation circle, as an additional Conjurer's Closet that just comes down earlier and slowly gets itself online rather than taking that turn off on turn 4 or 5 to cast this. So I think it honestly like comes online around the same time that you'd be casting a teleportation circle if you get it down on turn 2. If you play this on turn 4, it's going to feel very slow and it's not going to do what you want it to do. But it's also sort of slow in the same way that like teleportation circle and Conjurer's Closet are. A lot of the time in Commander these days, I've had trouble being like, all right, I'm going to pay 5 mana to reuse 1 ETB of a creature I've already gotten. That feels very inefficient and very risky. If somebody just kills the thing that you're blinking,
hard to do it into open mana for sure.
Yeah, you've taken your whole turn off. So being able to cast this early, get a little bit of value out of it, and make it become a threat in the late game is something I'm okay with. But if you draw in the late game, it's sort of a bad tempo spell.
Yeah, at least it has the airbending, so it doesn't do exactly nothing. But it's, if the later you draw it, kind of, I think the worse it gets. Yeah, I would just say, I think it's probably roughly equivalent to those other two. I think it's a little worse than like Soul Herder, which costs 3. And I also put like Displacer Kitten as, it's clearly worse than, because Displacer Kitten is insane.
It's ridiculous.
But just like another thing that you're using to blink your own stuff would work well with Airbender Extension, obviously. And it's like, how many things that blink your stuff pieces do you want in your blink deck? Because you're always like balancing. I have a lot of blink decks. You're always balancing like things to blink and things that blink stuff, right? Like, and you mostly want things to blink because those do stuff on their own. Like if I have Mole Drifter in my hands and I have, let's say I had 7 Mole Drifters in my hand, I'm fine, right? I'm going to play those. I'm going to draw cards that's going to do stuff. If I have 7 Airbender Ascensions in my hand, it's not good because they're not doing anything to help me with my stuff. They're just sort of pseudo bouncing my opponent's things, I guess. Yeah, and so that you always kind of, it's like pump spells and token decks.
Sure.
Where it's like, you want more things that make tokens than things that pump tokens. You need a few things that pump tokens, but you don't want a handful of things that pump tokens and no tokens. So
you definitely want the token.
It's way better to have a lot of tokens because sometimes you can win without the pump.
Right.
Which is the same thing with the Mole Drifter thing. So yeah, I think this is fine and could be a piece, but I think to me it's roughly equivalent to Teleportation Circle, Thoughts of Deep Dwelling, which are cards that, I agree with you, have a lot of problems, and I try to not play. Maybe I play one of those in my blink deck.
Yeah, I think I have I usually play 2, and it's usually Thoughts of Deep Dwelling and Teleportation Circle because they're just the most efficient version of that.
Yeah.
Soul Herder makes me a little nervous because the creature, there's a lot of removal spells for it. It has the same kind of problems. So Airbender Ascension, I'm curious. I want to see how airbending feels in Commander. I think in 1v1 it feels very, very powerful, but in Commander it might just not be a big enough hit. So we'll see.
I think it is powerful. I love bounce. You love bounce. I think it's similar to bounce, but the 2 cost does make it significantly different. And we played a couple of games with airbender cards now, and I do notice I don't want to airbend quite a few things.
Right.
Because for 2 mana, them getting the ETB is actually not bad for them at all. And instant speed changes it a lot because on attack, they attack you. You see it's coming at you. You go, cool, stop that attack. So now it's like a life gain spell plus a tempo hit to them.
Sure.
The fact that this isn't instant speed makes it tougher.
Yeah.
So I guess it would get better just like everything would if you have a bunch of ways to make things instant in your deck as well.
Yeah. Let's move on to Earthbender Ascension. This card just keeps going. Every time I read it, I was like, why does it do all of this?
It does a lot of stuff.
It's Earthbender Ascension. For 2 and a green, it's an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, Earthbend 2. Then search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle. So already, it's a 3 mana 2/2 that enters and gets you a land. This is like
a rampant growth, and for 1 more mana, you get the sort of Earthbend part.
Yeah, it's like the elf that enters and does that.
Yep.
Like Wood Elves-ish. And then it has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment. When you do, if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. It gains trample until end of turn. So now we're talking about sort of a Scythecat Cub, Bristly Bill ability attached to a Farhaven Elf.
Yeah. I like the Wood Elves comparison or the Farhaven Elf comparison, which would normally cost 3 and does basically what this does. And then
it makes a 1/1. This is a 2/2.
Yeah, and so it's a Scythecat Cub attached to a Wood Elves for the same mana cost, for 3 mana. It seems like,
and it's on an enchantment, so the ability is safer, but the body is still chump blockable. And this is the thing that I said about Earthbend tokens. Now you have a 2/2 that you can chump with. It dies, comes back to the battlefield, triggers this, and makes it easier for you to quest counters to get. To 4.
It gives you the first quest counter too because it puts the land into place. So you really kind of only need to get 3 more. Yeah, I think that. I don't love chump blocking and losing your land drop for a turn. But if you're in a land deck, you probably don't care as much. But still, it just gives you a body.
You don't lose your land drop for turn. The Earthbended lands come back to the battlefield.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So
you
get another landfall trigger to trigger your quest.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Thing.
So you just want to chump block with
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And once this gets going, which won't take very long because, again...
It gives you half of it.
The question, because this is obviously gonna go in landfall decks. I think that's a given, and it's gonna be pretty good. It just does so much for what it is. The question is, does this get played outside of landfall decks? Because is it good enough to that degree? Because
does it go in counter decks?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Scythe Cat Cub. I always want to say club.
Why are the Cubs always the good ones? Why? What? Like, where's Scythe Cat?
There's so much potential there.
I want to meet Scythe Cat.
It's probably like
if this is the Cub.
The problem is Scythe Cat is probably like a 7/7 that like
for like 8 mana.
It's just like completely unplayable.
As we age, we're worth more mana. You know, it's a whole thing. We get less powerful.
That's kind of true.
The youth of these cards.
They're all potential.
Anyway.
Two old people complaining about the youth. Okay.
This card's great. I mean, it's just like we've seen enchantments that are like this that have the landfall make a counter, and those don't really make as much of a splash. There's a couple uncommons. There was like the riding the Shapoof or whatever from Final Fantasy. But this one's different because it has a body and it gets you a land and it gives trample. And it just feels like it's
I think it probably does go in +1 counter decks, especially if you have a bunch of fetch lands in those decks.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Because I think if you probably have like, I don't know, 6+, I'm just making up a number, but somewhere in there of fetch lands, this is probably good enough as a ramp piece that's also part of your plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think of it as like, hey, would I play like a 3-mana rock that like puts +1/+1 counters on stuff over the course of the game in my +1/+1 counter deck? Yeah, you kind of would. And this is sort of that.
And it gives trample.
Version of that.
Like the other's the thing.
It's true, actually, and +1/+1 counter decks do want trample off, and they're often in a situation where they're like, okay, I got a few big things, but you know, people will chump and it won't really do what I want.
Yeah. I like half the time when you're getting attacked by a big thing, the first question is, does it have trample? And if it's no, then you're like, who cares? And if it's yes, you're like, okay, I'm about to get walloped. So I think this card's great. I am, it's 3 mana, but the list goes on and on. Let's move on to the red one.
Okay, it is Firebender Ascension, 1 in a red for an enchantment. When it enters, you create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with firebending. And then whenever a creature you control attacking causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then if it has 4 or more quest counters, you may copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So if you get an attack trigger off one of your attacking creatures, it'll put the quest counter on. It's weird.
This is even worse than I thought. I thought this was just whenever a creature you control attacks get a quest counter. It's whenever an attack trigger triggers, you get a quest counter.
Now, obviously, firebending is an attack trigger, so it gives you a creature that will trigger this. But yes, you have to have an attack trigger on the creature, otherwise you don't get the quest counter to begin with. Now, once you have 4 quest counters, it will start to double that an attack trigger. Will it double all your attack triggers? I think it will.
Yeah, yes.
So it becomes kind of like Ishin, which is very popular and a very powerful commander, but it's another thing where it will take a little while to do this, and it really narrows the scope of like what kind of decks can put this in it, because
this is so much worse than I thought it was. I thought it was just like whenever you attack with a creature, you get a quest counter on it. And I was like, okay, so then it kind of gets things rolling. It's fine. And obviously you want attack triggers, but if you only have like your commander has an attack trigger, then
you get the firebending
trigger. So let's say you play this, you attack with your commander, you get 1 counter. Next turn, you attack with a firebending creature and your commander. You're up to 3.
So you need another combat step. Although on that combat step, you will get the double trigger because it will go to 4 and then have 4 and then double.
Sure. So the third turn you attack with your commander, this turns on.
In a great scenario, and your commander would have to cost 1 for that to really work early in the game in this scenario. Like otherwise, if your commander costs 2 or 3, you play this on 2, attack with your firebender on 3, maybe cast your commander then.
Yeah.
It's slow. I think it's clunky. I think
the effect is very powerful in the right deck, obviously.
Yeah, obviously Ishin or something like that is the deck. I think Wolfgar also is doubling attack triggers, and there's a couple. There's not that many yet. So I think obviously that's the natural home for it. You've got a lot of creatures in your deck that have attack triggers. Probably like 20.
You better.
You need a lot, because otherwise you could easily draw this and just look down and be like, I have creatures, but they don't have attack triggers. This won't do anything. Or at the maximum, it's like 4 turns from now does something.
Yeah.
It makes a 2/2.
It's a 2-mana 2/2 with firebending.
Yeah, which is not good enough to play in your deck.
Especially like, here's the thing. If I have a deck with 20 creatures with attack triggers in it, how good is firebending?
Yeah.
Not very. Because like my deck's full of creatures that attack. Even if you're an Ishin deck, like I don't even know if you take advantage of that body that well.
Yeah, I think Ishin would probably play it just because you are looking for like 1 and 2 draw. Because what you want to do in a Sheen deck, play a Sheen and be attacking on the turn you play a Sheen.
Right.
So you kind of are looking for anything viable at 1 and 2 that has an attack trigger, and there's relatively few. So I think you probably play this, and the upside's pretty huge. But if it's not even a for sure thing there, that's what I'm thinking is like let's take a different scenario.
Yeah.
You're not an attack triggers deck, but your commander has an attack trigger. So you just played J. Jonah Jameson on the Game Nights Live Atlanta, which is J. Jonah Jameson has an attack trigger that he gives it would still only trigger once, right? Because whenever a creature you control attacking causes an ability of, it wouldn't even work. It's an ability of that creature to trigger. This is an ability of J. Jonah Jameson, right?
And he's not usually. It would trigger if J. Jonah triggered his own ability.
So you'd have to give him.
You'd have to suspect
menace.
J. Jonah and then attack with him to get 2 treasures.
So even then, it doesn't really work. Not well. So
it's bizarre. That's so much worse than I thought it was.
Yeah, I kind of landed on I don't think this is very good.
I agree.
We talked about Peter Parker's camera on Spider-Man. I know people don't like Spider-Man. I keep bringing up Spider-Man cards.
Peter Parker's camera is really good, guys.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a limited use Stereonic Resonator for a little bit less mana.
Yeah.
I kind of believe you'll get more out of that than you will out of Firebender Ascension. What's the game in the scenario where you trigger Firebending Ascension? You get to double, an attack trigger more than a.
It's going to take you 2 turns, pretty much guaranteed. If you have 4 creatures with attack triggers, the turn this comes down, you're already winning.
Yeah, that's true. You probably won the game.
If you play this, you attack with 4 creatures with attack triggers. That's a huge amount of value.
If you
and
ever
then
attack with 4 creatures, period, you're probably winning.
Right.
You just don't do that very often. So my guess is the average is 3 turns to get this online.
Sure.
And then so maybe in a weird game, how many games have you even attacked 4 times? It just doesn't happen that often. And then the 4th time, you maybe double a thing or 2. It's no, you'd rather have just had Peter Parker's camera that whole time, done that earlier, picked a couple of the good ones. Yeah. And that's if your whole board and everything you've cast has attack triggers. It's just not good in very many decks.
All right, let's move on. Okay. I don't think we're going to see much of that card after all. We're moving on to the blue one. This is Waterbender Ascension. 1 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then if it has 4 more quest counters on it, draw a card. So it becomes like a Coastal Piracy effect.
Yep.
And it has Waterbend 4, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Waterbend is Convoke plus improvise, basically. It says, while paying a waterbend cost, you can tap your artifacts and creatures to help. Each one pays for 1. So you can use mana, you can use artifacts, you can use creatures to pay for this waterbending effect. Yeah. So this is an effect we've seen a ton of. It's similar to the Airbender's Ascension, where it's we know what this kind of effect looks like, what kind of decks want this, but how good is it to be able to play it for 2 mana and have this water bending ability on it, I guess?
Yeah, this one doesn't do anything when it enters, right?
No, it just has the static ability.
The other 3 all do.
Right.
So at the base floor of the other 3, you at least know you're getting a thing. This is not that. This is, you
need a creature in play to even give the unblockable ability, and it effectively costs you 4 mana to make this thing unblockable.
Yeah, I think there might be some. It's weird. The spot where you can imagine this to me being the best is an equipment deck, which doesn't tend to be in blue,
right?
Because tapping equipment for mana for the water bending doesn't really cost you anything, and also you're likely to have a creature that's ready to attack. You probably want to be drawing cards. It's just in the wrong color for equipment deck. So so that that to me is listen, the obvious comps are Enduring Curiosity, Biden of Thassa, Reconnaissance Mission, Coastal Piracy, which you mentioned. Enduring Curiosity, the best of all those. And I think it's probably just unreliable. Is there any other decks you can think of where the unblockable really matters?
The thing about unblockability is unblockability is better in decks that Voltron decks that have one big thing. Yeah. And in those decks, this draw ability is worse.
Yeah.
And it's going to take you longer to actually turn that on. So where unblockable is good is not necessarily the place that this first ability is. And if I'm playing an Enduring Curiosity or a Biden of Thassa Reconnaissance Mission, I'm playing a bunch of cards with flying.
Your Octavia deck is a really good version of this. Would it play Waterbender Ascension?
I don't think so. Because it just doesn't care about the unblockability, really. I mean, you can make Octavia unblockable, like that's a thing you could do, but I don't really want to spend 4 mana to do that, and I don't really have the board presence to like tap to pay for 4 in a way that like feels efficient.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that this is 2 mana, it's not worth as much in decks that have a lot of small evasive threats, because what are you going to do with 2 mana? Oh, play my 2 drops. And so the fact that like Coast of Piracy, Bite of Thassa, whatever, come down after that, and they cost more, but you know exactly what they're going to do, and you've set up your board so you're like, play 2 little flyers, play the Bite of Thassa, draw 2. It's better than play 2 little flyers, play Waterbender Ascension, put 2 counters on Waterbender Ascension. Yeah. That's just, and you're like, I got 2 extra mana to play with, but I would rather just know that I'm going to draw the cards there. Yeah, I don't know what the home is for Waterbender Ascension. I don't think the 2 abilities work well together. I don't like that you don't get anything when you play it. I just think this card is just strictly worse than almost all the other options that are similar to it.
Yep. All right. Black did not get an Ascension in this set because it doesn't fit into the air, water, fire, earth thing.
Yeah, black doesn't have an element.
We have a couple of black enchantments that we're going to be talking about in this episode. There's one that
kind of feels like it's like their answer to an Ascension. And yeah, they tried to give them something similar. But I think this is like highlighting like, I don't know if it's an issue, because I don't know how big it is a problem or big it is an upside to just have cycles in general, but it does feel nice to our human brains to have that symmetry, and it is worth mentioning that. Yeah, we get a cycle here, but it's not complete. It's only 4 of the 5 colors, and it's just because of sort of the Universes Beyond story of it all.
Yep. Yeah. It's and it is definitely an example of how not all UBs fit into the color pie perfectly.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to move on to the next one.
Now we're just going to talk about cards in alphabetical order. Is that right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, sort of. There's some at the end.
Right.
Yeah,
there's a lot of cards.
There's so many cards,
and there's a lot that are like, hey, we kind of feel like we need to mention it because they're like gonna see play in Commander. They're either very close, very similar, or the exact same as like staple-ish cards, but we kind of put a bunch of those at the end. Right. We're going to talk about the sort of quote-unquote more interesting effects first, but we're also going to give a comprehensive look at sort of all the cards at the end, because we know a lot of people will be joining Magic, for the first time, or just, having started play recently because of this set, so we want to make sure that we tell you about a bunch of the cards that are like, these are going to be good enough to play in Commander decks, and are very similar to cards that people play all the time, so we're going to be comprehensive.
Yes, it's a long one, so stick with
Buckle
us.
up.
Here we go. Avatar's Wrath. 2 white for a sorcery. Choose up to 1 target creature, then airbend all other creatures. Until your next turn, your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Exile Avatar's Wrath. Excuse me?
I mean, this card, 4 mana?
What?
And you get to keep your best thing?
Okay. This Reflector Mage is an incredible card that bounces a thing and says you can't cast that until your next turn. Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating to play against. This is a bounce wipe in white that says bounce all your stuff. You can't play any of that. So you basically have a full turn off of that. Also, you can't play your commander. You can't play flashback spells. You can't play cards from exile.
It turns off Prosper decks and stuff. Just like, yeah, if their commander's not out, they can't cast their commander the next turn. If their commander was out, they can't cast it the next turn. Just turning their commander off for a full turn is like, a lot of decks just are like, well, I'm kind of turned off. Like, I can't do anything.
Yeah. And you keep your stuff, and you can cast them welcome back, sir. Yeah, you can cast them right after casting this. Yeah,
it kind of solves a little bit of the issue we always talk about with board wipes, which is like, you board wipe, but your opponents are the first ones to rebuild because you spent, all the mana on the board wipe. This is only 4, and they can't, you're going to keep one thing and probably get one other thing at least back out. So you've kind of rebuilt first after the board wipe. Like, it flips that on its head.
Right.
And they can't even get the like, hey, it only costs 2 to put the stuff back out, quote unquote advantage.
Until a whole nother turn? Are you kidding? We didn't even mention this just kills all tokens.
Yeah.
Tokens gone.
It seems very aggressively costed.
I agree.
If you showed me this card and said, like, how much mana do you think it should cost? I think I would have said 6.
Yeah.
At least 5. 4 seems nuts. So
4 seems very powerful.
It's a cool effect. I like the design on it a lot. I don't know that I love the mana cost. I want to cast it, but man, when people cast it against you, it's going to feel so bad.
It's pretty devastating, especially because like the problem with the board wipe is you get blown out. You don't have any cards in your hand, but like bounce wipes, you're like, fine, I'll recast all my stuff. It'll be fine because I've incidentally drawn all those cards. This says like you get essentially the card disadvantage of the board wipe, and you can recast it, but it's going to be way too late, and it's a full rotation after this player has rebuilt.
It's a little Cyclonic Rift-esque.
Yeah.
I don't want to overstate it because Cyclonic Rift, one of the most powerful cards in the format, but this has some similarities, I'd say, in how it will function, which is like, boom, everybody's got nothing. I still have a decent amount of stuff, and they're kind of in big trouble just catching up.
Yeah.
Like it hampers their catch-up ability by a lot. So
yeah, I would say like if a card says it exiles itself when it resolves, that's a good clue that this card's really powerful.
That's a really good point.
So
they're like, we don't want you to loop this.
They're like, you can do this once because you're like, okay, replay Archaeomancer, get back Avatar's Wrath, replay Avatar's Wrath,
especially if it's the one of the things you airbent.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
that's what I mean.
Lord.
Yeah, no. So they were responsible with, at the very least, it exiles itself. But this is a very powerful card. Don't sleep on it.
It's gonna cause a lot of groaning. It's gonna be pretty brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is interesting design too. It is Fated Firepower. Red, and X for an enchantment. Has flash. It says this enchantment enters with X fire counters on it. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus an amount of damage equal to the number of fire counters on this enchantment instead. So let's say you cast for 5 mana, you flash it at the end of your turn. That means that anything that you do that deals damage will deal 2 extra damage.
Yes. This is Torbran that scales up on an enchantment with flash.
I mean, when you say it that way, it sounds pretty good.
Right?
Yep.
I don't think there's it's incredible with firebending, obviously. Like, you need a good way to put all your Sozin's Comet mana.
Oh, my Lord. Yep.
It
would be before damage is dealt, right? Like, you attack, add all of the firebending mana, play this for X is equal to 20, and you're just like, well, my 3 creatures will hit for 20 extra damage now.
Yeah, they hit for 17. Like, okay. Holy cow. And that you're only attacking with 4 creatures. But like these kind of things are insane with like pinger effects or obviously what we combine with Torbran or O'Hare Achernil. And it's so you want lots of increments of like 1 damage to make this truly maximize the ability for it. The cool thing about it is it's tricky. Like the flash thing is such a combat trick. To be like, oh, you don't block my 5 goblins or whatever. Take 25.
Brutal. I think the flash like flips this. I mean, like, is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So the problem with like Fire Emancipation type effects is they generally cost enough mana that on the same turn you cast them, you have trouble taking advantage of them. Every once in a while you can get an attack in or whatever, but like there's setup play that everybody sees coming. The times you die to Fire Emancipation are late games where they can do that and something else.
Right.
This gives you that because of the flash. So you can hold open your mana. You probably have instants and stuff, especially if we're playing with firebending. But you're in red, so you're holding up other things. And then you go Fated Firepower and an end step for X is equal to as much as I can do, untap. And now I kind of got that same effect. And that could often just be game winning, right? There's a lot of effects in red that just deal damage to everybody. If they deal that much damage plus 7 every time you deal damage, it's often not hard to like get a win. And I think that's like the scary thing about this to me is just that scenario of being able to just kind of sit there, not use it, see what happens, boom, play a creature with haste, play a Pyrohemia even, something like that, and just be like, yep.
The thing that I keep picturing with it is you cast this on end step, you untap with like your, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, ping effects and just storm off that
just go
turn.
Nuts, yeah.
Because you've got a ton of instants. That seems like the kind of deck that this would be in. Like your Torwaki deck is like, okay, every time I deal damage, I deal an additional like 7.
Yeah.
And that's the game.
What's that? There's an X spell that deals X damage to any target, but then you also get to put like a card
I love
equal
that
to
card.
X.
And I never remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Exsanguinate. That's not it.
It should be though.
Electrodominance.
Yes. I love playing this card in a lot of red decks, and it's for this reason, for the ability to sort of surprisingly, it's like, cool, I'll kill a thing, but mostly I really want to sneak something out on an end step before my turn so I can untap with it, because red has a lot of like cool setup things. It's like, if you do this, you'll do that, but they cost so much mana that's like you never get to do that part. So this being all on the same card, I saw that and I was like, a lot of people are going to die to this cast on end step, basically. There's going to be a lot of games where somebody flashes this in, untaps, and whatever they do from that point forward, you will not get another turn.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of powerful cards in this episode, a lot more to come. We're going to get to all of those after a few words from our sponsors.
All right, so I have an idea for a new Magic card.
Oh, cool. What is it?
Get this. It's Rhystic Study, but it costs 1 less to cast.
Okay, so you're taking a game changer and making it better.
Exactly. I got the idea from Ridge, who took their game-changing wallet and made it even better with Ridge 2.0. I've always loved my Ridge wallet's slim, modern design, but now it's 10% lighter and more modular with improved cash straps and money clips.
That's great for a wallet, but Magic doesn't need more broken cards.
Broken cards? No, that's never going to happen with a Ridge wallet. They protect your cards from bending or breaking with strong materials like titanium and carbon fiber. Plus, they have RFID blocking technology to stop digital pickpockets and a new industry-leading built-for-life warranty.
Wow, that's a lot of protection.
That's it. Teferi's protection, but better. Do you have a pen? I gotta write this down.
No. For limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head to ridge.com/command to get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year.
That's ridge.com/command for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
Hail, customers, it is I, the Grey Merchant of Asphodel. When I started selling my wares, it was a struggle trying to do everything myself. The job was always draining, and I barely had 2 pips to rub together. Luckily, that's when I found Shopify. Their devotion to helping new businesses grow is practically infinite. Shopify got me started with my own design studio, which made it easy to build my online store with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Oh, this one has plenty of black. Plus, their robust email and social media tools helped me ramp up my marketing campaigns to grow my Grizzle brand. It's no wonder they power 10% of all e-commerce in the US, including the Command Zone store. In fact, with Shopify's expertise in inventory, shipping, returns, and more, I call them a true win condition for any business. Thanks to Shopify, I finally made a name for myself, and that name is Bob. What? Bob's already taken? Fine, Gary it is then.
Turn your big business idea into... with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/TCZ. Go to shopify.com/TCZ. Again, shopify.com/TCZ.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Oh, hey, fast food. How you been?
Oh, bad man. I thought we had a good thing going. You used to order me every day.
Sorry, fast food. I've got Factor now. Their delicious chef-prepared meals have really helped me live a healthier lifestyle. Plus, they deliver right to my door, saving me time and money.
Okay, I'm a bad habit, but come on, aren't you bored of Factor by now?
Not at all. With the huge variety that Factor offers, I'm always trying new things. They've actually expanded their menu with new Asian-inspired dishes influenced by China, Thailand, and more. I've even been enjoying their salad options. Just today, I had the Santa Fe chicken salad with tortilla chips and cilantro dressing. It's healthy and delicious, unlike some giant talking hot dogs I know.
Salads? Oh, man, I guess it really is over between us.
Oh, don't cry, fast food. Here, have a Factor meal. On me.
Oh, dang. That is good.
Eat smart at factormeals.com/command50off and use code command50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code command50off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. All right, we are back. We are talking about all the cards that go in the 99 of your commander decks from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Next up is a black enchantment. One of the maybe 2 candidates for like what we could consider an honorary part of the Ascension Cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one is called a Fire Nation Occupation. 2 and a black for an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with firebending. Sounds like Firebender's Ascension. It has reminder text, which is weird. Whenever it attacks, add red. This mana lasts until end of combat. We'll address that in a second. And then the second part is whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with firebending 1. We should say this is a mono black card, and the red mana symbol you see is in the reminder text, which makes it like extort.
Yes, so you can put this in your mono black decks if you have ways to use that red mana.
You'll notice on other firebending, often it does not say the reminder text, which is how you kind of know you don't necessarily need it. I don't know why they felt the need to put it here.
Just to make it as confusing as possible.
But that means it could be still part of the Ascension cycle honorary member.
There's a couple that
There's
are
no quest counter, obviously, but like, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting card. Black's not necessarily known for being super, super flashy. Most of the time, these effects are in blue. So having this be a Flash Matters card on a black enchantment is really interesting.
Yeah. I'd say red and blue are the two like most instant speedy colors.
Yeah, the first thing I noted was this isn't capped to once per turn. Usually, like, it's the first spell you cast on an opponent's turn that triggers. But this is no. If you as long as you're casting stuff at instant speed, you're making 2/2s with Firebending. And then hypothetically, if your deck is full of ways to cast stuff on your opponent's turn, you also have ways to use all of that Firebending.
Yeah, because casting on your opponent's turn just means instant or flash speed, and that still works during combat when you have Firebending mana. Yeah, I like that synergy. It feels like you'll know the decks that this wants to go in because you'll already be planning to cast things on opponents' turns. And there's a bunch of, it's a small archetype right now, but they've been working on it in recent years. There's like Nimrus, Alayla Cunning Conqueror that literally say when you cast things on opponents' turns, get an extra benefit. And so this is a thing in black and usually blue that they've been sort of adding to over the years. So those two decks already kind of want this card for sure. And then, I could see there are a few sort of stormy decks, and they're usually in like Rakdos or Dimir as well. Like my Torwaki deck just has a lot of instant speed stuff because of the way that the rest of the card works. And that's another thing where it's like, well, I'm already casting things at instant speed a lot, so I may as well just get 2/2s with Firebending when I do that.
Yeah. The fact that it's like, as long as it's not your turn, yes, you're getting a 2/2. That's on a 3 mana permanent. That's a great rate for this effect. Like, we're used to like the 4 mana ones that are whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you get something. And those are all 4 mana for the most part.
Yeah, and you get like a 1/1 flyer or something.
Yeah. And this is a 2/2 with an attack trigger on it that's going to be really powerful in this kind of deck. So the fact that you can, like, on your opponent's end step, cast cantrip, make 3 of these guys, untap, attack with 3, add 3 mana, cast something for bigger in your combat. Like, it's just going to be really powerful. Maybe not exactly the turn it comes down, although it could be. 3's pretty efficient. Probably the turn after is when things are really going to pop off with it.
Yeah. And an enchantment a little bit harder to remove than like,
Gosh, I forgot it makes one an ETB too.
Yeah, so it just kind of is a 2/2 with Firebending 1 that, that's the card gives you that no matter what. So, yeah, I like this a lot, but it's narrow, right? Like if you don't have, 25 plus instants in your deck, you probably can't even think about running it.
Probably not.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to this next one. I do want to mention this because it is exceptionally powerful in Commander, but it comes with a fair amount of warnings. It's my Scornful Striker. 1 and a black for a legendary creature, human noble ally. It's a 2/2 with first strike. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2 life. Ouch. This is a tiny Rurik Thar in mono black. And it's going to have the same kind of effect as like an Ankh of Mishra or Spell Shock. When they're in play, your opponents are mad at you, but they are also taking a lot of damage. So if you're one of the group slug players, take a look at my.
Yeah, I think also if you just are like a damage deck.
Yeah.
Like I have an Obosh deck that'll play this for sure because and even though this is not odd, but because it's just looking to get all the life totals kind of low, because then it can play one effect that deals damage to all your opponents and kind of like, if we're all at 7, I'm probably going to win that game. Even if I'm one of the ones at 7, because I just have a lot of ways to do that. If you think of like damage to mana paid ratio, this is going to have a really high ratio. You're going to play this and it will often deal like 12. It can get a couple attacks in probably. It's a good blocker later. And then it probably is like, 12, 16, 20 damage maybe if they don't kill it. Feels bad to remove it over the course of a game. So you're like, I paid a 2 mana and it did 20 damage. Like, that's a really good ratio in a deck that decks that want to deal damage. So definitely powerful. Don't sleep on it.
Yeah. Something we talked about in the pros episode was, does your deck benefit from a short game or a long game?
Yes.
Do you want a small game or a big game? And if you put this in your deck, you benefit from a fast game.
Yeah.
My Obosh definitely helps you get there.
Is the end of the night deck where it's like, we got time for one more game, but we don't want it to be 2 hours. I'm like, I'm playing this deck. I don't know if I'll win. Probably not. I think it's only won like 2 games ever, but the games are always very fast.
The next card we're talking about is
This
not
next card
interested.
is sweet.
Oh, this deck wants a long game, and it's awesome. This is Monk Gyatso. 3 and a white for a legendary creature human monk. Whenever another creature you control becomes the target of a spell or ability. What if this was just Nadu?
It starts with Nadu text. I mean, that's already a good sign.
It says you may airbend that creature. He's a 3/3. So anytime one of your creatures becomes targeted by your stuff or your opponent's stuff, you get the option to airbend it. Send it into exile. You can recast it for 2.
Yeah, so it is just at a space level, if you have no synergies or anything, just protection.
Yes.
Makes stuff a lot harder to remove. Obviously, you do have to sort of recast it, but for only 2 mana.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the kind of commander that eats a lot of removal, it is just like, hey, basically, I am going to have my commander next turn, and I'm going to be able to recast it,
Or this turn.
Yeah, that's completely true.
It's very powerful. And that's just like the base level. You just play it. If you just put this in any deck and there's nothing else going on, it will do that and protect all your stuff to some degree, right? Like you get another, important piece out. They go to remove it. You tuck it away, and it's 2 mana to get it back.
Yeah, and if they want to avoid that, they've got to get through Gyatso first. So they sort of need 2 removal effects. I was thinking about this as kind of like a Michiko Konda or like a Karmic Justice type of effect. Like if you remove my stuff, I'll remove your stuff. But this is so much better because first of all, it's not super destructive and slows the game way, way down.
Right.
But also this just says like, you can remove my stuff, but it's not going to do that much.
And the way that sort of mentally works is like people will just choose not to do it. Because if you've got a Swords to Plowshares, and even if they've got the best threat, the fact that like I'm really just costing them 2 mana for my card, it just feels so bad to do that, even if it would technically be right, that you often look around and say, I'm gonna remove something where they can't do that because at least my card traded for a card and I set them back.
Yeah, that's true. It's sort of like a reverse clue or something, like 2 mana to get an opponent's card is a very interesting way to think about it. Just on its face, I mean, that's really interesting. I did want to mention that if you target it with your own card, like if you go to Path to Exile your own creature, you will fizzle that spell if you choose to airbend it. So you can't like get the land and save your creature. Yeah,
it is a May ability. So if you wanted the land, and hey, we've all been there.
Totally.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. You can do it. You can say, I'm going to not airbend this time. Yeah. But it works with spells and abilities, too. This is something that you pointed out that I was like, oh, crap, I didn't think of that. So if you got a Lightning Greaves, you can kind of slow blink all your stuff with it. Or maybe blink the same thing, right? Go to attach it, airbend it, cast it for 2, go to attach it, airbend it, cast it for 2. So a Muldrifter becomes 2 mana draw 2 with like a Greaves out, or, any other equipment, you'd have to pay the mana cost for the equipment to go to equip. And it's not just equipment. Any activated ability will do it.
An untapper or something like that would do it as well.
Also gives your instant speed stuff the ability to save your stuff now. So you got a Teamer Battle Rage or something like that. You'd like to use the Teamer Battle Rage to kill them. You're in a situation where they're going to kill your creature and you'd rather save it. You can use your Teamer Battle Rage on your thing to airbend it away. And so, the flexibility of the card's actually really, really high. Also, they might just board wipe, right? And you're like, well, I got 2 things in my hand that will just save my 2 biggest things. I'll do that. I'd rather just keep my pieces.
Yeah. If you've got spells that are like any number of targets too, you can save your whole board.
Yeah.
This card's
Mystic Confluence. Because you'd bounce them anyway, but now you're like, oh, well, they'll only cost 2 to recast out of airbend, so I'll just airbend them instead. That's really good. Mystic Confluence.
So this card also just kind of goes nuts with the right setup. If you have a creature that has an ETB that allows it to target itself, it can send itself back into the airbend zone. So let's say you have like a Rishkar Pima Renegade or something. It's 3 mana, it enters, it puts a counter on Rishkar, it puts a counter on something else. Once you target Rishkar, you get an ability to airbend him. So you can send him back to airbend. If you have a way to like make elves cost 2 less to cast or something, even Urza's Incubator, you can recast him for free, airbend himself, and put another counter on something else. You could airbend that card too if you'd like.
Right.
And then you just have free ETBs.
Infinite counters there.
Infinite counters, infinite ETBs, infinite LTBs.
You got to have some way to turn that into a win.
Right? Like the craziest one I found, we were talking about this in the office because once we found it, we were like, whoa, a Sweet Gum Recluse.
Oh, yeah.
This is a 6 mana creature with Cascade, and it says when it enters the battlefield, put 3 +1/+1 counters on each of any number of target creatures that entered the battlefield this turn. So now if you have...
Oh, right. So every turn thereafter. Yeah.
If you have an
just
Urza's
airbend
Incubator on Spider, now you have free 6 mana Cascades, and it sends itself back in the airbend zone in exile, and then you can replay it again.
Yep.
Every time it hits the battlefield, it sends itself back, and every time you cast it, you get to Cascade for 6. I mean, that's kind of a lot. You need a Suicune Recluse, and you need some way to reduce creatures by 2, but...
Yeah, all this talk made me think of... the types of decks that at least I build and play that have the most cost reducers.
Yeah.
And it's a very common thing to build your artifact decks with a lot of Foundry Inspector, Ethereum Sculptor type of things. And they're trying to get to a state often where they're sacking and then recasting artifacts for free. This creates a situation where you are airbending for free artifact creature. And then the great thing about that is there's a lot of when artifacts enter do something cards. So just a Reckless Fireweaver which you're already playing in the deck, right? So this would be, I didn't even think about it, but this Monk Gyatso would probably just be an automatic include in an artifact deck, which often in blue-white.
Yeah, this is gross in your blue-white blink deck.
Niko,
yeah.
Oh yeah, so good in Niko.
Yeah.
Monk Gyatso is like sneaky. Maybe on first read doesn't read this way, but one of the most powerful cards in a really very powerful set. We've already talked about a lot of really powerful cards.
Yeah, I think this card's really interesting, but also very, very powerful.
Yeah, Urza was another one that I tagged as like, because it creates the construct, which creates the mana. So you could probably get into some kind of loop there where...
Then he only needs to be reduced by 1 because you make a new new thing to pay for the 1.
So all of a sudden you're getting it. And as long as you keep a construct or 2 untapped, they're getting infinitely large as you make a million constructs and you can kind of maybe win that way. So... And not like Urza needs the help. But,
you know. The other decks I was thinking about for this, so we're talking about artifact decks, we're talking about blink decks, just sort of anything with big important key pieces. And I was looking at commanders that also have activated abilities that target that you could double as protection. So like Heliod Suncrowned is one that I was thinking of, where you have this 1 and a white activation to give something lifelink. Normally that's like to go infinite, but here it's a good way to be like, oh, you tried to remove my thing, I'm going to send this to exile. Cool stuff with Monk Gyatso, predictably very powerful for this character. But we're going to move on to the next card, which also is in the running for the black.
I would say the previous one was Fire Nation Occupation. And this one, it's like one of these could be the 5th one in the Ascension Cycle.
Yeah, an honorable mention here. This is Obsessive Pursuit.
Another really good card.
1 and a black for an enchantment. When this enchantment enters and at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a clue token. Whenever you attack, put X +1/+1 counters on target attacking creature, where X is the number of permanents you sacrifice this turn. If X is 3 or greater, that creature gains lifelink until end of turn.
So it's Clue Blossom, and then they were like, that's not good enough.
But also makes a clue when it enters.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
true.
a 2 mana for a clue that gives you more clues. And if you're sacrificing stuff, you get even more stuff.
Honestly, like borderline 2 mana enchantment makes a clue and then just makes a clue for 1 life every turn.
I'd play that.
Yeah, it's a good card.
Yeah.
Just I get a piece of cardboard every turn and it's a legitimate, like, it's an artifact, it's a token, it draws cards, like it checks a lot of boxes. So that alone, just the top part, if you just lose the last 25% of the whole card, playable. So then just this last part, which is relevant. I think very relevant ability of like thing, make something bigger. Plus it's counters. This should have been until end of turn, I think, but whatever. And it's in black, so it doesn't care that the clues are the things you sacked, right? Like if you just can sack a lot of stuff.
Treasures, tokens, lands.
Treasures, like a Prosper deck just plays this, right? Like just like, make something really big. And the lifelink is very relevant, especially in black, and you've already played a card that's, you're taking 1 damage every single turn. Yeah, this is a lot on a card.
It's a lot.
It reminds me a little of the white card, what was it, Avatar's Wrath, where it's just like, wait a minute. If somebody showed me this card with no casting cost, what would I guess this cost? I think it'd be like 1 black.
Yeah, it would definitely be 3.
Definitely, I would never have guessed 2 mana.
No, 2 mana is so efficient for this kind of effect. I mean, it's very, very powerful. But it's the kind of card that you're like, I know exactly where this goes, and that in the decks that want it, it's going to be gross.
It's just going to do so much. In another way, what was the card that deals 2 damage every time anybody casts a non-creature spell? It's a similar vein of just like when you look back over the course of the game for what did I get for my 2 mana? The ratio is going to be so high. I got like 5 pieces of cardboard. I pumped this, I put 5 +1/+1 counters out and I gained 7 life or whatever over the course of the game. Like, that math probably doesn't exactly work, but you get it.
They understand. Yeah, something you wrote down that this is good with firebending, which is absolutely true. You can use the firebending mana to crack clues. Perfect. Yep. It's also really good with waterbending because you can tap the clues to pay for waterbending costs. Yep. It's like a Phyrexian arena that is itself a threat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is.
This is 100% better than Phyrexian Arena.
Yes.
Like, it just is. I know it feels weird because you're like, well, I got to pay 2 for those clues. But you get so much more out of them. And often they're more valuable to you as just artifacts that are there. And then you just crack them incidentally once in a while when you need to. Yeah, obviously it goes in decks that care, I said Mirkwood Bats and Academy Manufacturer are good signposts. Like, if those are in your deck, then this card, you should probably replace some card in your deck and put this in also. Those are just really good signposts. And obviously, if your deck cares about sacrificing things like Korvold or something, just Aristocrats decks, though, probably really like this. And then, of course, Treasures is nuts.
Treasures is nuts.
Just like cracks, 4 or 5 treasures to like do something else and just incidentally put 4 or 5 counters on something and give it lifelink until end of turn. Games are faster now. Jimmy's been on this train for a little while, and I agree with him, which is just like lifelink has gotten better.
Yes.
Because the shortness of games means that just 5 to 7 life often gives you an extra turn. And because, it's the difference between dying on turn 7 or living, and then often I can win on my turn 8 or whatever if I just lived through it. So just these little bits of life kind of matter more than they used to. When a game goes 12 or 14 turns, the amount of damage you're taking when you lose, the 5 to 7 life didn't seem like it mattered.
Yeah, I found that like games are less over the top than they used to be. We're not dying by like -100 as much anymore. We're dying by like
it's close. Yeah, because you're dying earlier and they're just inching out enough to get you. They're not it's not as often where it's like I have 100 trample flying. With Myriad and you all die or something, which used to happen a lot in the old days, which was cool.
Yeah. This is
also cool.
This is also cool. It's just slightly different. Obsessive Pursuit, very powerful.
I love this card. Yeah, this is really good.
We're going to move on to the Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong. This is a 6-mana legendary artifact with an activated ability, 1 tap, scry 2. And whenever you scry or surveil, look at the top card of your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Do this only once each turn. Thank God.
It is each turn.
It is each turn.
But it's not only on your turn, but if you can untap this thing or scry another way the turn you play it and then tap it on somebody else's turn for the scry, you can get 2
out of this
free things.
Yep.
Yeah, you do have to like kind of know what's there, right? Because if you get a land, it's not that
yeah,
do anything.
Because scry 2 is like, sure, you're like, okay, I'll bottom 2 lands and now I'm crossing my fingers for the top one.
But probably I'm okay. Like often you look at the top 2. Don't be too greedy. If you look at the top 2 and one is a spell, you're probably going to do it.
Probably just take that spell,
But if it's just random card off top or, the next one after one scry 1, you're probably like close to a 50-50 chance there. Maybe like 70, it's 60%, whatever. It's not 100% is whatever it is.
Yeah, I was thinking about this card because 6 mana is a lot. It's a very powerful effect. And then you have to pay the additional 1 to do the scry, which is fine. It effectively casts the spell for free and draws the spell for you because you're casting it off the top of your library. Yeah. So it is like even better in a lot of ways than like cast a spell for free from your hand because it gives you that draw in addition to
it's also card advantage.
Yes. So that effect is really cool. And the fact that it's an artifact makes it so easy to get into play early. Artifacts are the easiest permanent to cheat into play, in my opinion.
Because of what we said earlier, cost reducers and then all the other stuff still works on them too.
And like, so I was looking at like Saheeli the Gifted as a huge cost reduction on it, getting this thing into play on easily turn 4. Lady Octopus Inspired Inventor that helps you cast artifacts for free from your hand. Those decks are actually full of untappers as well. So they're very good in those decks and they have the high mana cost spells that you're actually digging for to get to this. And that's not even mentioning, like, those are just artifact decks. They're not like decks that can scry every turn or decks that can surveil every turn.
Yeah, I like the untapping as a way to maximize this. To me, like, unless you have something additional, like, you either have more Scry and Surveil, like that's kind of a thing your deck does a lot of, or you have Untappers. Because I don't know that paying this amount of mana doing this, because you got to think of the first card you get off of it as like the card you could have drawn and just cast, as long as it's 6 or less mana, which it probably will be. So it's really on the second card that you've sort of started to get something, and really on the third where you're like feeling good.
Right.
Like, and then anything past 3, you get the fourth card off of this, and you're probably going to win that game. You've just gotten so much value off of it. Mana, you know, you've spent your 6 mana and gotten like 20 mana and 4 cards worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But spending my 6 mana and getting 1 card and 3 mana worth of stuff is not that great. So I think you need to be able to like reliably get more off it than that. So I like the scenario where you cheat out, have Untappers, or the scenario where I got a lot of Scry. So I play it probably with 7 mana, do something else that scries, and then tap this and get, you know, because it's the other thing about artifacts, they're pretty easy to destroy these days.
They sure are.
Everybody's on to the fact that like artifacts are good.
Artifacts are good. So I was looking at commanders that I could see these go in the 99. My favorite answer is Glarb Calamity's Augur.
Okay.
Because Glarb lets you look at the top card of your library is the biggest part, but also has a tap activated ability to surveil too. So it gives you that surveil option, lets you see the card that you're going to cast, and you can do it on multiple turns. So you can use that scry to good effect.
Yeah, and you're probably playing a lot of fetch lands to be able to shuffle, and like you're already manipulating the top of your library.
Yeah. Seems like a slam dunk in a deck like that. But also something like the Scarab God or Alibu that have big scry effects where they're like scry 10.
Yeah, I guess if you're scrying 10 with Scarab God, this card doesn't matter, right? Like you won that game. Like you got so many zombies in play. I don't know that I would put in a Scarab God deck just because the scry is so incidental.
Yeah, but if you can look at 4 or 5, you can set up a huge card on the top to cast, right?
Yeah, it's great in that scenario, but like I feel like if I'm looking at 4 or 5, like I've done so well.
Sure, yeah.
That's like I'd just rather have this be a creature that I can get out of my graveyard at some point.
That's fair. Alibu is an artifact deck though, so it seems sick there. But also if you're scrying for 5 in Alibu, then you're probably set up. So,
but Alibu probably has that situation where it's got other untappers and cost reducers. So.
It probably has Goblin Welders and that kind of thing to cheat it into play. And that's kind of how I'm envisioning it, is like in those mono red artifact decks that don't have a ton of card advantage.
Yeah,
this is a good way to cheat something into play that's like, it's going to keep you drawing cards. It's going to help you set up your draws. Like it's going to have a lot of positives in a low card advantage deck like that.
It's kind of similar to what's that artifact? I forget the name of it that like randomly gets something out of your graveyard. Wondrous Crucible. That's a card I've seen a decent amount. It's like a piece in a sort of red-based artifact deck that just says, I'm going to cheat this out in some way. And then once it's there, it'll just kind of be its own machine that gets me additional value while I continue to enact my other plans. So I think this kind of fits that same bill.
I agree. All right, let's move on to Reckless Blaze. Speaking of red decks.
All right, this is 3 red for a sorcery lesson. Reckless Blaze deals 5 damage to each creature. Whenever a creature you control dealt damage this way dies this turn, add red.
Okay.
We had to template that in a weird way. I think it's because they didn't want it to trigger if your creature lived through the damage, but they also didn't want you to just be able to, like, whenever a creature you control dies this turn, get red, because they didn't want you to be able to just sack creatures to get the mana.
Right.
So the creature has to die from the damage from Reckless Blaze. No, it has to take the damage and then die. So if you had a sack outlet.
Yeah.
And you had a bunch of 6/6s, cast this, killed everybody's thing, and then decided I don't want to,
I don't want
attack
6/6s.
with my 6/6s. I'll just sack them all for mana. This is something I would do. You could do that, but it is templated in a strange way. They do have to die.
Yeah, it is sort of
for the mana.
It's an interesting card because it's half ritual, half board wipe, and the more the board wipe hurts you, the more mana you get.
Good point. Yep. Culling Ritual was a card that you put as a comp, as a comparison, which I like. One difference I will say is that Culling Ritual just gives you the mana for everything destroyed.
Right.
Reckless Blaze is only your stuff.
Right.
Which is not generally when you've got a bigger board when you want to be casting stuff like this.
Right. So I was trying to think of like what you do with Reckless Blaze, and it sort of goes in the same things that the Sozin's Comet goes in, where it's like, I have a bunch of creatures, but I mostly want to turn those creatures into resources. So it's like I make 10 goblins, I cast this, and now I'm up 5 mana, but like the amount of creatures that you have that have to die for this to actually get you the amount of mana that's like cool and big is not really feasible. If you have 25 goblins, like go hit him with the goblins.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like, what's the scenario I'm in a game? I have 10 goblins. 10 is so many.
10's so many.
And I'm feeling like, boy, I better board wipe.
Yeah, right. You're like, I don't know. I'm hiding behind 10 goblins.
Why am I hiding? I have 10 goblins. I'm probably winning.
Right.
Like, how many games am I in where I have 10 goblins and that I'm like, oh crap, this is going really badly for me.
Right.
Yeah. So then that's what I mean is like, there are certain effects that work well together and there are ones that don't. And I think this is a don't. I think this is a situation where like when I want mana, I don't necessarily want a board wipe. Or when I need mana, the way this gives me the mana is not a way that I want, right? Like, because if I need mana and this is going to give it to me, it means I have a lot of creatures that are going to die to it.
Yeah. I wish this triggered for like the highest power that died this turn or something like that.
There you
and
go.
then you can like recast, like if your commander dies, then you can recast your commander and it doesn't seem hugely broken because if you have a 20/20, it's not going to die to this. So like it doesn't give you 20 mana or whatever. You have to have another step. So it's really interesting because like the white board wipe that gives you the resources to rebuild is exceptionally powerful. And this one that tries to give you resources to rebuild doesn't quite give you enough. Yeah. Especially in red, like you don't really have ways to protect your board. You don't really have ways to recover from board wipes. It's not even close to a Blasphemous Act that just costs 1.
Not even close to a Blasphemous Act. And I'll say too, the fact that it only deals 5 damage, I think is a pretty big downside here because it won't necessarily kill everything. And it's like, at the very least, I would like it to know that it's going to do that. So now I've got a really conditional board wipe that's conditional in both directions. It's conditional ritual and a conditional board wipe. And it's like, I wish I just knew it did one of those things really well. And then I could justify the other part as gravy. But because it's kind of like limited on both sides, I don't know. I just look at chain reaction and it's like, when would I ever want Reckless Blaze over chain reaction? At least chain reaction most of the time is going to kill everything.
Right. Yeah.
And even chain reaction, I don't know about you, but I don't play it that much.
No.
Blasphemous Act, for sure. Every red deck.
Yes.
Chain reaction, maybe. I have to be like with green or something that doesn't board wipe very well.
Right, yeah. I think it's one of those things that you look at and you're like, this could be cool. And then you're like,
You start breaking down scenarios where it actually is cool. And you're like, how often are those scenarios even there? Yeah.
Right. If you spend 5 mana to and you kill 3 of your creatures, you get 3 mana back. And you're like, okay, I can cast one creature post board wipe.
If this did 10, I think that's a lot better because then I wiped everything for sure. I knew what it was doing, and then I'm recovering from an actual board wipe. This is I'm recovering, but maybe my opponent's kept some stuff. Yeah. Maybe it's like Gruul or something where like all your creatures are bigger than 5. This becomes a little bit better. I just feel like there's a lot of options for stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is Tectonic Split. 4 green for an enchantment. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice half the lands you control, round it up. What? Hexproof. Lands you control have tap, add 3 mana of any one color.
Well, high risk, high reward. Nothing risk, nothing gain. No pain, no gain.
On.
Oh my gosh.
A couple things to note.
This makes me nervous just reading it.
This is a casting cost.
Yeah.
If this gets countered,
you sacked the lands already.
They're gone. So that's not so good. But this is a bold move and does give you a huge reward if you make the bold move. So Hexproof, you look at it and you're like, well, good. It's impervious. There's no way that it dies. Farewell, Bane of Progress.
A lot of cards that see a lot of play will kill it. That's another problem
like
with
immediately.
It. Yeah, anything that doesn't target it, that's all enchantments or whatever.
Shadow Spear turns off the Hexproof. There's
Cyclonic Rift.
So many ways to get absolutely wrecked.
And they're all cards, again, that decks have those cards. Like, yeah.
So there's cool things you can do. You're in green. There's lots of ways to bring lands back from the battlefield. Yep. Sacrificing a bunch of lands isn't the end of the world when you're in green if you're in the kind of deck that can do that reliably. Sure, yep. This downside is not as
if you got
potent.
Crucible of Worlds, Ramen Excavator in your deck, then this becomes a lot better for sure. Just like you are the type of deck that's like, I'm planning to get lands into the graveyard and back out.
Yeah, if you have the World Shaper precon, that's
absolutely.
like the plan is to sacrifice things, the plan is to bring them back.
Yeah.
Then obviously this is going to be very powerful.
Because you might like the land sack even more than the bringing it back part. You might be triggering off the land sack, and then it's a totally different proposition for sure. Yeah,
you can combine it with cards that untap all your lands, Wilderness Reclamations, or even just creatures that untap your lands. Right. That means you can get some of this effect the turn it comes down, because that is the risk, is that you do this, you pass.
Don't ever do that.
Something happens.
You can't cast this for 6 unless it's like literally the only card left in your hand.
Then you go down to 3 lands. Ugh.
Yeah. Yes, you'll have 9 mana the next turn, but like, yeah, you have to cast this with like, I think you have to cast it with at least 2 mana left available. So you've got 8 lands total. You cast this, and then you've got 6 mana still to play with. Hopefully, like a counterspell or something held up so that you don't get, blown out.
Yep.
Don't cast this into open blue mana, like maybe ever. Again, the only exception would be like landfall decks that like can get stuff. I don't know. I don't like this card because it's just so risky. It makes my stomach hurt just like thinking about casting it.
What about this? What if you don't cast it? What if you cheat this thing into play?
Okay.
If you have like a Kodama of the East Tree, if your commander is like Kierden the Shipwright, if you've got a commander that puts permanents from your hand onto the battlefield, you skip over the
sweet.
Additional casting cost, and now all your lands tap for 3.
Okay, that's sweet.
That was something I didn't think of until very late last night and was like, wait a minute. It's a big permanent in green decks that are actually pretty good at reanimating this stuff. It's not an ETB, so there's like sort of this loophole.
Yeah.
However, if you have a card in your hand that says you can't cast this card, and it had like, if it says you may not cast this, hexproof, all your lands tap for 3.
Even in Kodama, it's tricky. I mean, I've got, I've built a Kodama deck, and like, if you're getting something that big cheated out, something's gone pretty right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know that I would want the downside of having this in my hand the whole time waiting for that moment so much as just like anything else that I could have cast because it doesn't have such a big doorside to get me to that position. You know what I mean? This only takes advantage of a position that's already strong rather than helping you get to a position that's strong.
Yeah.
But it is a cool loophole to... So if you're in a deck maybe that can like get it in the graveyard and then get it from the graveyard to the battlefield, that'd be another way. Yeah, that's a cool thing. Maybe, I don't know.
It's scary. It's a scary one, but boy, once you have it on the battlefield, your lands tapping for triple is an unbelievable upside. I mean,
it's Nyx Bloom Ancient-ish, I'd say. And it's the if you untap with this, good chance you win from there. That's just so much mana.
Seems likely.
Yeah, you got 20 mana and everybody else has 7. It just feels like you should win that game.
You better. If you have this in play and you can't win from there, don't put this in your deck.
I had a PSA about this card, which is that this is the type of card that people will play and then get salty when somebody like counters it and makes them sack half their lands. And like, I'm going to tell you right now, it's on you that played the card. Yeah. You put this card in your deck. It's a high risk, high reward card. Don't get all whiny when somebody punishes you for it because the upside is so big that like, what are they supposed to do? Not do that? They're not being mean to you. This is what you get for playing cards like this. If you're willing to take that variance, that swing of like, sometimes though it wins me the game. Sometimes you got to be willing to be like, you got to counter that. And I'm probably losing this game now. But that was the roll of the dice that you took. It bugs me when people play cards like this and then get mad when I counter it or like do something to it.
Yeah. Well, you just made me sack all my lands.
No, I did not.
You did that.
Yeah, exactly.
It says an additional cost. You spent the cost.
I didn't make you put that card in your deck.
And I spent the 1 blue mana for the Swan Song.
Yeah. That's the risk you took.
All right, let's move on to the blue spirit that is countering the Tectonic Split.
All right. Yes, it is called the Blue Spirit. It is 3 and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature, human rogue ally. It says you may cast the first creature spell you cast each turn as though it had flash. And then whenever a non-token creature you control enters during combat, draw a card. So this obviously gives you the ability to cast a creature during combat, just one, and then draw a card.
Right. The joke here is obviously ninjas. He's cheating because you cheated ninjas into play and then you draw cards. But I think this card is exceptionally good in creature decks, especially in cheap creature decks. If you cast a Beast Whisperer and you expect to draw 3 cards off of it the next turn, then the Blue Spirit is actually pretty similar and gives you that flash upside.
I mean, I love both of these effects because giving your stuff flash is so powerful. That's already kind of a strong, like, I wouldn't play it. We've learned, like, you need a little bit more, but it's close. Like how many over the years, how many cards are we like, this is the Valganori that's playable? And we finally got it with High Fate Trickster.
Yep.
And I think this by itself, if it was just you may cast the first creature spell each turn as though at flash. If that was the only thing it did, it wouldn't meet the bar. It would have been, down there with one of the other ones that we thought was close. But this fact that you can draw a card when you do cast it during combat. Now it restricts you to a certain area of time. I did want to say combat happens on every turn. So even if Rachel has no creatures, she will have a combat step.
Even if Rachel isn't playing Commander.
That's so weird, yeah. And she just got board wiped, but she can't skip her combat step entirely. But we shortcut that by not having it. But you can say like, hey, before you end your turn, you actually have to go to combat. In combat, I'm going to flash this out. And so if the player before you in turn order, just doesn't go to combat, you can still take advantage of flashing something out. They don't literally have to go to combat. I just want to say that because you can use it like a Valkanori then and draw the card if you want to. And you can also obviously flash things outside of combat. You just won't draw the card. So.
Right. Why would you do it then?
Yeah. Sometimes you might want to just for additional protection because I don't want to give Rachel's second main the ability to kill whatever I had or see that I'm tapped out. So I can still use the end step trick for my first creature if I want to, just for, hey, I'm going to forego drawing the card for maximum protection.
It is also worth noting that if a player dies on their turn, that turn does finish the steps.
Yeah.
So if for whatever reason they die in their first main phase, there will be a combat, a second main, and an end step for you to do everything.
Yeah, you still get a chance to utilize your blue spirit.
Yes. Okay, moving on to the Last Agni Kai. 1 in a red for an instant. Target creature you control fights target creature an opponent controls. If the creature the opponent controls is dealt excess damage this way, add that much red. Until end of turn, you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. So this is an interesting trick just with firebending to be able to keep it through all of combat. But
if you Sozin's Comet and then do this with some of the firebending mana, you could keep the rest to cast creatures with after combat. Yeah, I like this card quite a bit.
I think this card's really cool. It's a fight spell in red, so obviously it has all the downsides of a fight spell.
Yeah, be careful.
You have to target your thing, you have to target their thing, both of those. Bummer.
It could go really bad.
Yeah. And you do have to fight, yes, you have to fight a creature an opponent controls. You can't fight one of your own things.
Yep.
I was like, can you be safe about it? No.
This is a fight and not a bite too, which means that like your creature will take damage back from the creature it's fighting.
And, but you get that mana back. So in this way, like if you fight a 2/2 with a 4/4, this spell is effectively free. You get the 2 red mana that you spent back, which is very powerful.
I mean, most of the best removal spells in the format are the best removal spells in the format because of their mana cost. Also, if they exile or not, but still, most of the stuff we like to play, is 1 or 2 mana. And once you get up higher, 3 mana, 4 mana, it becomes hard to play the removal spell just because you have to save so much of your mana off to the side that you can't advance your game plan while you're doing it. This says, no, I get to have my removal, stop my opponent's plan, stop the scary thing, and still advance my board. And that scenario you just laid out is very modest. That is a 4/4 against a 2/2.
Yep.
That's the minimum. Like it was free, the removal spell, which I think, just imagine a removal spell that said, destroy target creature, 0 cost.
Very powerful.
Every deck plays it, right? Yeah. So the fact that this is going to be that, not every time though. Sometimes they'll have the 4/4 and you'll have the 2/2 and you'll be looking at this card being like, well,
I'm going to scream. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to get something else out first and then do it. And that's a little slow. But I'd say in any deck that's playing this, probably reliably has like on the larger side commander or creatures in general. Like you obviously can't play this card in decks that don't have like a lot of creatures or aren't making a lot of creatures, but that's a low bar these days. Most decks are like 20 plus creatures. And then I think, geez. And the upside, sometimes, I got 10/10, I got a 20/20.
Yeah.
And this is different than that board wipe, where you have a huge thing. Often having a 20 power creature is not going to win you the game on its own. You often need another step. Maybe it knocks out one player. Even then, sometimes you can't get through. And this says, sweet, I'll turn this into 19 mana.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah. And that will win me the game because the 20/20 is not, not going to do it. And what I do will involve the 20/20 also, right? Like, yeah. And at the end of that, I am going to attack or whatever, but still.
Yeah, I mean, this is sweet. And there's also so many creatures that you just have to answer that have like Fairy Mastermind is a 2/1. You know, it's not hard to deal excess damage to a Fairy Mastermind.
Yeah.
So having this effect, even if you're not killing a super consequential creature, I'm going to take my 6/6, I'm going to fight your 1/1, it's gone, and I get 5 mana.
There's so many. I'd say most of the creatures you want to kill these days are Beast Whisperers and just like, yeah, you're going to win the game because of that card. You're going to play other cards that will kill me, but that one's going to be the reason I lost.
Yeah, this card's sweet, and I hope we see it. They've definitely been experimenting with fight spells and trying to push that envelope a little bit to make them playable in Commander. And I think this card and the one from Spider-Man that we talked about, Rhino's Rampage, I believe is what it's called, are starting to get into that threshold where we're starting to look at fight spells seriously, outside of like very niche circumstances anyway.
All right, the next card is a saga. It is the Legend of Kyoshi. It is 4 green, Chapter 1. No, it's Forward Enchantment Saga. Chapter 1, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Chapter 2, Earthbend X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. That land becomes an island in addition to its other types. And then Chapter 3 is you exile this saga, return it to the battlefield, transformed under your control. So it becomes Avatar Kyoshi, which is a 5/4 legendary creature avatar that says lands you control have trample and hexproof. And then you can tap it to add X mana of any one color, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So at least 5, because it's a 5/4.
Yep, and you just made earthbended creature that is equal to the number of cards in your hand.
Yeah, so, you know, a big creature, 6, 7 power probably.
Hopefully.
Maybe more.
I mean, you just drew a bunch of cards, so hopefully you have a lot of cards in your hand. This is a 6 mana card that sort of just keeps going. It like the first chapter is an effect that we play with Rishkar's expertise. The second chapter is an effect that we don't really play, just make a big thing. But it does flip.
Not bad.
But when it flips over, it gains trample and hexproof. So suddenly that big thing that you just made is a lot more powerful.
It's a problem, yeah.
And it's helping you add additional mana with the backside.
Right.
So this is a really powerful story. Like, I think all of these chapters are like, that is good, this is good. Next turn, it's going to be even better.
Yeah.
But it is 6 mana, and it is a slow story. It is a long story. So I think there's some interesting things to think about with Legend of Kyoshi, but it is competing for a lot for this effect with a lot of cards. We've seen many, many cards that draw equal power.
Yeah, the comparisons that we have written down are Rishkar's expertise, which you mentioned, Return of the Wild Speaker, Season of Gathering.
Yep.
These are all green cards that sort of do a similar thing. And I play all those other 3 cards from time to time. They're all good. I don't know that I'll play Legend of Kyoshi, and I think the main reason is that 6 mana on the front side with no effect to the board possible is pretty tough. It has a downside. You don't always have a really big creature. You could pay 6 mana and get 3 cards, which would feel really, really bad. Rishkar's expertise has a similar issue, but it also puts something out. So I didn't just only draw cards, I also affected the board. I got to put something down. Return of the Wild Speaker has a second mode that's sometimes I use it as my pump spell that wins the game. And then Season of Gathering has a whole ton of options.
Oh, yeah.
I won't even run through them all, but it can do a lot of things in Season of Gathering. Obviously, I think it's not that it's better, but I think it's just more useful in more situations. It's more of a staple than it is like a certain, like Rishkar's expertise, I'm not putting in decks unless I have a lot of big creatures. Yeah. Where Season of Gathering is just like, green deck, you could put in there. It's going to be good. Yeah, so that's my worry about this card. I agree with you too, because every single one of the things is good.
Yep.
But I just have a real hard time imagining playing this for 6 mana, drawing even 6 cards. As much as I love to draw cards, just that's a really important part of the game. And it's just hard to that's what I did this turn.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing because every time I read it, I was just like, yeah, I mean, all of this, the backside's incredible. Like, so what would make me put it into deck was the next question I asked. And I think there are some distinct upsides with Legend of Kyoshi. It does eventually make 2 bodies. Like it earthbends this big creature and turns into a threat itself. So you do want a body before that. So that is its own challenge, but it does split. It is a permanent, which I think is one of the biggest upsides. We talked about decks that are sort of can cheat big permanents into play, that kind of thing. That helps there. But also just like Genesis Wave decks. If you're playing it, your entire deck is permanents. So this is like an effect that can go in. The coolest thing I found, though, is with Vorinclex Monstrous Raider, this card gets bananas. So Vorinclex is a counter doubler. if you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. So I looked this up.
Yeah.
When you play a saga, the 2 counters go on it. You get 2 triggers. You do get to decide which way though that goes.
So you draw, then make the thing right away.
Yes. So or the other way. So you could, depending on, so you hypothetically you have a 6/6 in play. So you could, if you have 8 cards in hand or something, make the 8/8. It's a 16/16 because you have this in play, and then draw the cards. You draw 16 cards.
Oh, that's sweet.
Which is really cool. Yeah. And then when it flips, which is next turn, it speeds up the clock fairly consistently and like does some crazy stuff if you have like Vorinclex. So that was cool. And I was like, okay, so if you're in a counters deck, there's even more upsides here.
In play.
Well, not necessarily Vorinclex. If you're a counters deck, like, and you Earthbend X, now you've got a huge thing with a bunch of counters on it. Like, that's additional upside that I would consider over something like Return of the Wild Speaker.
Yeah, I guess so. What I like about the Vorinclex thing is I can get the creature right now. If it came in and made the creature and then I drew the cards, I'd be a lot higher on it because it gave me a thing that affected the board.
Right.
But it's the in-effect of the board, the fact that I just do... Now, I love drawing cards, but like it doesn't do anything to help you win the game right now. And so drawing 6 cards and then being like, go, and everybody like, kill them. They just drew 6 cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not my favorite thing. And this costs 6 mana. So that's my worry. So I would look for like, if you're in a saga deck or some way that's able to manipulate the counters so that you know when you cast this, you will get to chapter 2 and get a big thing. And it's like, I got a big thing and I drew the cards. Not I drew the cards and the next thing.
Now, next turn, I'm going to make a threat. And the turn after that, actually, no, it can attack the turn comes in because Earthbend gives a haste. True. Anyway, that's the Legend of Kyoshi. The other reason is just redundancy. If you want a ton of these effects, like maybe you run that. But you can't really run that many 6-mana spells.
Yeah,
so be careful.
Yeah, you already don't run all of the other 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's some that like
maybe
sack
2.
them.
Maybe 2, yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to
a doozy.
This is a doozy.
A doozy.
It has all the words you want. It's
a doozy.
The Unagi of Kyoshi Island. So we just met Kyoshi. This is her Unagi.
Yep.
3 blue for a legendary creature serpent. It's a 5/5 with flash. And it has ward Waterbend 4.
Yep.
Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw 2 cards. Okay. So the first time I looked at this, I was like, okay, it's Fairy Mastermind plus Consecrated Sphinx, sort of.
Yep.
Like if you just mush
is that a good thing to say?
Yeah, I mean, those are 2.
It's Force of Will and Cyclonic Rift, sort of.
Sort of.
Just say 2 awesome cards, sort of, and it's like, I think that's probably going to be really good.
It's probably good.
But
like,
also, it has Ward. I think do you think there was a meeting somewhere they were like, but it's waterbending, so it's fine, right?
Like, it's basically free.
But we said like we're gonna be careful with Ward. Yeah, but it's waterbend Ward. Yeah, good point.
Totally
it's
different.
Fine. It's totally fine. It's totally different.
Yeah. How big of a cost is tapping 4 creatures? A lot.
It just is water. It's just Ward 4 kind of like. Yes, there will be some decks where you'll be like, well, in this one scenario, they're an equipment deck or whatever, and you know, they have a lot of treasures. I guess there's probably a little more than I'm giving it credit for, but still, it's still a pretty big hurdle. It
feels like a pretty big hurdle to me. And the fact that like you have to have all this stuff in play and you have to have the removal spell and that person wants to like spend their mana and tap their treasures to do that thing. That is not a small cost. I think all of the words are good. And I can't really find a way to be like, this isn't good. Like we know Fairy Mastermind triggers a lot.
Yep.
So we know this will trigger a lot. That's what I mean. Is like
you don't have to like theory craft like, well, how often will this trigger? No, Fairy Mastermind triggers all the time.
It will.
Yep.
And how good is drawing 2 cards? Very good. And it has flash, so even if they're playing around it, you still got one.
Yep.
And it's a 5/5 that can ambush creatures.
Yep.
Be like, you attack me with a professional facebreaker, hilarious.
Or you just flash it in before they draw their second card.
That too.
You're like, Rachel's like, I want to use it as removal. Smart. But I'm like, I want to just use it as the card draw.
Yeah, but also
either way, I mean, this adds up. Yeah, whereas the Legend of Kyoshi, I think, added up to me as like, it didn't all quite work together that well. This adds up and works together like really well.
Yeah.
This card's awesome. It's straight up. This card's awesome.
It seems awesome.
It's another groaner. Yeah. It's Consecrated Sphinx, cheaper, with Flash, yes, it's a little more fair, but you're going to draw a lot of cards off this thing, and people are going to be looking at me like, I do want to spend my whole turn to kill it.
Uh-huh. You can also put this in the command zone.
Yeah, but I think it's almost worse in the command zone.
Yeah.
It's just because when you flash it out, when they draw their second card the turn before you, and everyone is like, oh no, because it's like, draw your second card right there, or draw 2 cards right there.
Yep.
So even killing it, they're still behind, but they probably won't be able to kill it. It's got ward. You picked an open spot, and now you untap with it, and you say go, and they're just like, what can we even do?
Yeah.
First of all, if I pay the ward and everything, they'll probably just counter the thing.
Yeah.
So ward's even worse on blue creatures.
It is tough. Yeah. It is tough. All right. Well, there's not a lot to say about it. I think it's quite good.
I'm going to play the hell out of that card.
Oh, yeah.
That card's so good.
Oh, yeah. They're like, why play Vidalcan Orrery? Everything has flash.
Yeah, jeez.
Well, it's definitely a very powerful card. Is it the most powerful? We'll find out.
Yeah, we got a lot of powerful stuff left. But before we get into it, let's take a quick break and hear a message from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
On Friday, November 21st at 3 p.m., the Command Zone is going on Whatnot to do what nobody else does. Play Magic!
That's right. To celebrate the release of Avatar: The Last Airbender, we are going live on Whatnot. We're cracking packs of Avatar, playing with the cards, and then giving it all away.
If you've ever been on our streams before, you know they are always a ton of fun.
And if you haven't, this is a great chance to start because we are so excited about this set that we are giving away $5,000 worth of products like collector boosters and booster packs, all from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well, not everything's from Avatar: The Last Airbender. We are also giving away a Nintendo Switch 2.
Plus, it's a back-to-back stream with our old friend, the Professor! He's going to be live at 2 p.m., so you can start over on his channel and then join us as soon as he's done.
He always has some sick giveaways too, so if you go to both, you'll have twice the chance to win something.
Then we'll be here selling exclusive Game Nights merch and playing Countdown Magic, a fun Pack Wars variant that's easy to follow but still has a ton of strategy.
It's a great way to see the new cards in action while still getting the thrill of cracking packs and hunting for some sweet pulls.
And if you sign up using our link at whatnot.com/invite/command, you'll get $15 free to use anywhere on the site, maybe on some Avatar product.
So come join us November 21st at 3 p.m. and don't forget to use our sign-up link for $15 free on the site. Again, whatnot.com/invite/command.
It's gonna be so fun. I love Magic.
She does.
I also love Magic.
It's not the same.
You browsing for some new tech?
Yeah, I'm building Tiamat and ARCHIDEKT. Ooh, how about Zergo and Ojutai?
Did you just drag and drop that card image directly into your deck?
Yep, with ARCHIDEKT, you can drag and drop card images from EDH, Rec, or Scryfall directly into the deck list. No typing required.
That is so cool.
Ooh, okay, check this out. I'm gonna drag and drop Dragon Storm into the deck, and then boom, I'm gonna drop a bunch of dragons on the battlefield.
A 9-drop, huh? Seems ambitious.
It was just for the pun. ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and playtest commander decks. Just go to archidekt.com/commandzone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/commandzone.
All right, we're going to move on to the next card. This is an 8-mana 0/30.
It's very cool.
Called the Walls of Bossing Say. This is a legendary artifact creature wall with Defender. It says other permanents you control have indestructible. It doesn't, though.
Even I get the flavor. Yeah, even I get the flavor of this card.
So this card's super fun, and you look at it and you're like, it's Avacyn! Yes!
Sorta.
It doesn't have indestructible, and it's an artifact and a creature.
Yeah.
So this thing is very fallible, which makes sense in the show as a big drill comes through the side. But everything having indestructible in the meantime with a speed bump in the middle is pretty good.
0/30 ain't bad. Nothing can attack you on the ground.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I like this card. I like blocking a lot more than attacking.
0/30, come on.
It's kind of along the lines of what we talked about earlier with artifact decks, right? Like the reduced cost, the ability to cheat it out is going to be pretty high in the decks that want it. And then this is the kind of card that you pair with your own board wipe. And again, you're often playing in white, blue-white, or something like that. Sometimes red, but it's often red-white. And yeah, going boom, play this for some amount of cheap costs or cheat it out with one of the goblins or whatever, and then, follow that up with your own board wipe is going to be like pretty backbreaking.
It's great with Blasphemous Act because it doesn't die to the Blasphemous Act.
Yeah, it lives through a Blasphemous Act, but I don't even care about killing it. It did was say, I killed everybody's stuff, but not mine.
Right.
All the gates are down everywhere else.
Yeah. This card's sweet. If you can cheat it into play for less than 8, I think you start looking at it. Like Rakdos, Lord of Riots, Animar, Soul of the Elements, anything
Rakdos.
like the dragon that I played on game nights.
Which one?
Chiskoria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this card gets even better. All right.
It's definitely not a go in a lot of decks kind of card. It's very specific.
And it's like a lot worse than Avacyn.
Yeah.
Like it not having indestructible is a lot worse.
Yeah, I just
than
want to be
Avacyn.
clear. It's not actually that good. But
it's
like,
cool.
Yeah.
But it's not that great, no.
All right, well, this next one's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Wan Shi Tong, Librarian. It's blue, and X for a 1/1 legendary creature, Bird Spirit. Has Flash.
Why not?
Why not? Flying and Vigilance as well. When Wan Shi Tong enters, you put X 1/1 counters on him, then draw half X cards rounded down. And then whenever an opponent searches their library, put a 1/1 counter on Wan Shi Tong and draw a card.
Okay. So this goes in the category of 2-mana flyers that have stuff.
Yep. Yeah, you can just flash this out for 2 and not draw any cards off of it. You do round down, so playing it for 3 doesn't do anything. You have to play it for 4.
Yeah, if your opponent cracks a fetch land, you can flash this in and get a free card off of it.
And you'll have made a 2/2 flyer for 2 that drew your card. And I would say that's a really good play, and you should probably just do that if ever presented the opportunity.
Yeah. Like, and then it sits there and makes everybody second guess casting ramp spells or cracking lands, that kind of cracking fetch lands, that kind of thing.
And cultivates and all that too.
Yeah. It is an annoying card in that respect, in like the Fairy Mastermind Malcolm respect, where it sits on the battlefield and just makes everybody go, ugh. But then you'll draw, fine, I have to crack this fetch land.
The 2-mana blue flyers are so good.
They're so good.
The Fairy Mastermind, Ledger Shredder, Malcolm, there's a whole bunch. It's interesting to think where this sits on that spectrum, that continuum, but the thing is, when you're talking about 2-mana cards, you can just have so many more of them than you can have 6-mana cards that it's like, I don't know. If it's good enough to be among that conversation, maybe I just lose one of my 5-drops, put this in.
Because it could also be a 5-drop, right? Like you can
be a 5-drop.
That's the interesting thing about this is like there are moments in the game where Malcolm just feels kind of like small potatoes. Yeah. He's okay, but he's like
you draw him on turn 6, it's like
yeah, you're like fine. But this is like okay, I'm gonna cast this for 6. I'm gonna draw 2 cards, and
it's gonna be pretty big.
It's gonna come in, and I'll at least be able to chump block or whatever. So it's like. The moment that I compared it to a Hydroid Crisis was the moment that I was like, oh, this is a Hydroid Crisis with Flash that has a static draw ability.
Yeah, that has other in monocolor.
In one color. And that makes me think like, oh, this card's quite good. And I think you brought up a good point when you mentioned Archivist of Ogma.
Yeah, we were having a discussion about this card at lunch the other day with some people, some Command Zone people. And yeah, there was a really valid point brought up. I think Jamie brought it up about Archivist of Ogma, which is 1 and a white for a flash creature that is a 2/2 and has the second ability that Wan Shi Tong has, which is whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Not the exact same, but close. And when that kind of was revealed and was the talk of the town for a moment, and everyone was thinking that this card was going to be really broken, it felt like a fair opposition agent in that like it won't stop them from doing the tutoring. It just gives you an advantage, so it won't feel as bad. Anyway, we thought Archivist of Ogma was going to see a lot of play, and it didn't end up being the case. And so the question is like, is the Wan Shi Tong different enough that we should I believe that it is, but I think that the comparison is interesting to think about and to sort of understand the roots of so that we don't over-evaluate it.
That's completely fair. Because Archivist of Ogma is like, it'll draw you a couple cards, like maybe 2.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And that's how you should look at this card. Like, this isn't Fairy Mastermind. It's not going to trigger every turn. It's not going to draw you 24 cards. And I think that's fair because it's 2 mana.
Yeah.
But it could guarantee draw you cards right now. And
which
I think
Archivist doesn't do.
Which it doesn't do. And the fact that it's in blue, the flash is like even more important. And like, when I'm playing a white deck, I want a lot of my white creatures to be like combat relevant.
Yeah.
I want a flyer. I want something with lifelink. I want like it to be able to wear equipment and attack. And the Archivist of Ogma just was like,
Yeah,
it's a 2/2.
Too low impact.
Yeah.
And it doesn't draw you enough cards to really be good at that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think flying makes a huge difference to be like combat relevant. I think the fact that you can use this as an X spell, you can use your firebending mana to draw a whole bunch of cards with this thing.
That's sweet.
Like that makes me look at this card and think like it is leagues better than Archivist of Ogma. I think if Archivist of Ogma flew, I would put it in a lot more decks.
Yeah, the flying's big, and this could be a big flyer too. I mean, if you're late in the game, and like you said, the way blue often plays is just kind of wait to do something. And if nothing bad happened, I'll spend 8 mana on this thing on an end step.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's actually like a threat in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this card's pretty good. And I think, just put it on the list with those other 2 mana blue flyers.
Yeah, go through your binders, see which ones you have, put them in the deck. They're going to be good.
I think we've got enough of those now. I think we could stop.
No.
I think maybe red could. Let's find whatever red's thing is that we'll start complaining about. Let's start doing that now.
What about the red Ascension is blowing my mind how much worse it is.
Yeah.
Than I thought it was.
The worst one? I don't know.
So much worse. At least the blue one isn't like backbreaking. All right. Let's read this next one.
Okay.
Speaking of blue, really powerful cards.
Yeah. Waterbender's Restoration is blue for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, Waterbend X, so as much as you like, exile X creatures you control, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. This is the type of effect you and I like quite a lot.
We do. We've talked a lot about Hide on the Ceiling, which just came out in Spider-Man, on all the ways that we really liked Hide on the Ceiling. Disorder in the Court is very similar.
I'm an old fan of Disorder in the Court.
There's also a couple of key differences here.
In this card's favor, I think.
I agree. First of all, Waterbender's Restoration costs 2 blue to hold up. You have to hold up 2 blue mana.
More. That's not in its favor, yeah.
Yeah, but like the fact that you can tap the creatures for the X to protect your board helps a lot.
A lot.
Where if you have like 4 creatures that you want to protect and they're all untapped because you're a blue deck, and why are you attacking? Psh.
Hide on the Ceiling, you would need 5 mana held open for that. With Disorder in the Court, you would need 6 mana held open for that. And
this says you need 2. You tap those creatures, you exile them, you save them from the board wipe right away.
Yep.
It can only protect creatures, where Hide on the Ceiling can protect artifacts, and it cannot hit your opponent's stuff, where Hide on the Ceiling and Disorder in the Court can be used sort of defensively or to disrupt your opponent's things.
Which is legit.
Yes.
Like, I use Disorder in the Court all the time on my opponent's stuff. Like, 2 of mine, 2 of yours that are attacking me. Yeah. It's a big deal.
So the fact that this doesn't have that flexibility, I do think is a pretty big downside. But board protection in blue, come on. This is hard
to overcome upsides. Like, it's just a lower cost. Like, it is just hard to beat that. It doesn't matter what else it does if it just costs a lot less mana. And this is a lot of times when you want to blink your board, your creatures are value creatures and you want to hold them back. There's not good attacks. They're better as blockers. You know, you don't attack that much with your Muldrifter. You do sometimes, but a lot of times, like, I got my value out of it. Now I just need the game to go long enough to appreciate that value. And this is like, cool, I'm just going to hold all that stuff back anyway. And now it becomes a lot safer to use this in an offensive manner too. It feels bad to hold up mana for Hide on the Ceiling, nothing happened, and then cast Hide on the Ceiling to blink your stuff as like what you're doing with it with no protection involved. Because you're opening yourself up to like, bad things happening to you, people removing things in response. I love this at 2 mana because in that same scenario, I'm still holding my counter magic open to stop your countering of my waterbending, or my Waterbender's Restoration. So I'm way more likely to be able to use it as just like, cool, I'm just going to use this right now because I have an opportunity. Nothing, I'm not dodging a board wipe or anything. Just going to draw some cards, get a couple of other effects, move on with my life, and it feels safe to do that.
Right. I think that's an interesting point, as like this is board protection. If you have a counter spell, you could just counter the board wipe. But the thing about board protection that makes it so powerful is it's better to protect your board and let everybody else's boards get wiped than to counter the board wipe and have nobody's boards get wiped, especially when you're in blue.
And you get the added value that you're only playing this when you have enough ETBs, right? So then you're just like, I wanted all those ETBs again. And now I get a destroyed board on all my opponents too. Like, you would rather not counter the board wipe if you had this as an answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This card seems sweet. It's going to go mostly in blink decks. I could see it as board protection if you were interested in, if you're like a heavy board presence blue deck, and you're not in green or white.
Yeah.
If you're in like a is it aggro deck or something like that.
Even then, though, I think you're better with counter magic in that scenario.
Probably. Yeah.
Just because it's more flexible against other types of effects that you're worried about.
Right. So, but this card's cool, and I think we're going to see a fair amount of it. Okay, we're moving on to the next one. This is White Lotus Tile. This is a 4-mana artifact. It comes in tapped. It says add X mana of any one color, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common.
It just had to be complicated.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have a lot of allies, I guess, in this set.
Yeah, it's like allies.
Or soldiers, I guess.
Is the joke for the inset mechanic.
But obviously goblins, elves, whatever, zombies.
Yeah. If you make tokens, then it'll tap for a lot of mana.
We both thought of the exact same card as a comparison for this card.
Yeah, it's Nyx Lotus.
Yeah.
It's almost exactly Nyx Lotus, in fact. Nyx Lotus taps to add devotion. So if you have a high devotion to a color, then you get to add more mana. They both have the same problem, which is if you have a lot of things, maybe you don't need a lot of mana.
Yeah. If you have a lot of things, you're already kind of doing good and you don't really need, not ramp.
Right.
Right? And especially not really slow ramp.
Right. Not land ramp that comes in tapped.
Yeah.
And you look at this and you're like, well, Gaia's Cradle's really powerful. And you're like, yeah, but Gaia's Cradle doesn't cost 4 mana and come in tapped.
Yeah, if I have a big board, what I don't want to do is just spend 4 mana and light it on fire and just like it goes away. Yeah. What I want to do is hold up my protection or advance towards, like, maybe I'm not quite, I'm going to win and I want to advance to that. And this, that's the problem with these cards. They look good. They look really splashy. I know Nyx Lotus, when it came out, people were really excited about, and nobody really plays it. Because what you learn when you try to play it is like, oh, it's not good. It's just too slow.
When do you want this to be ramp? Is when you don't have anything.
Yeah, but
and
then
when
it
you
sucks.
don't have anything, it doesn't give you mana.
Yeah.
Like having a Nyx Lotus on the battlefield after a board wipe makes you want to cry because you're like, oh, my Nyx Lotus untaps after the board wipe. Incredible news. I would say the one upside that White Lotus style has over Nyx Lotus is the ability to cast up at flash speed. If you cast you have a bunch of tokens, then you cast all the tokens, you untap with this, then you can do something, and it's not legendary, so you could clone it and have multiples of it.
Sure.
Other than that, this is a pretty win more card that isn't going to necessarily give you what you want at the right time. All right, we have to move on to the Z of the set. This is Zhao.
Zhao the Moonslayer.
Yeah.
1 in red, legendary creature, human soldier, 2/2, has menace, says non-basic lands enter tapped.
Okay.
You can pay 7 and put a Conqueror counter on Zhao. And then as long as Zhao has a Conqueror counter on him, non-basic lands are mountains. So once you pay 7, Zhao is a Blood Moon.
Yeah. This is super flavorful. I love this design for this character. It would be better if it didn't become a Blood Moon in Commander. If this was just menace, non-basic lands enter tapped, I might play that card because it's not going to just die immediately. It'll be annoying and like slow down my opponents.
Yeah, exactly.
But your opponents are going to read the rest of this line of text and say, I don't want all my lands turned off, and they will make sure that this thing dies or you die instead.
Yeah, exactly. It's too aggro-inducing. The threat assess meter on all your opponents is going to go way up when they see this thing. It's just, what it says is like, hey, I'm going to make it so you can't play Magic in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to do something about that? Yes, I do. I want to kill
I'm
you or that
kill it
thing.
Right now.
Yeah.
And you know when I'm going to do it? After you spend the 7 mana.
Yeah. Or like, they're just going to be like, how much mana you got for it? Next turn you could maybe, just kill it.
Just kill it.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with it.
Yeah, this is going to draw you a ton of aggro. And I really like this effect. I really like non-basic lands enter the battlefield tapped. Cool. I like it in red. I think that's a cool idea. I just wish it wasn't the kind of card that is a must kill for so many decks. All right, we're going to move on to a section that we're calling new staples.
Staple-ish.
Stapley. These are recognizable as cards that we play in Commander, so there's not a ton to say about them other than like, yeah, you should know that these exist. We know that a lot of you watch these episodes to just kind of get an idea for all the cards you need to know in the set, and we want to make sure that we say them out loud so that you've heard of them, but we're not going to discuss all of them. So
I think this episode in particular, again, because the last Airbender of it all, we're likely to have, a bunch of new players coming into the format, and so it's nice to say, like, these are of Commander level power.
Yes.
Whether or not they're the best card in slot for your deck or not, these, it's fine. It's good to play them. They will be good. They will be good. If you look at them and be like, is this powerful enough for a Commander deck? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Shared Roots is the first one on the list. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Boy, does that sound familiar.
It's just like Rampant Growth, which is one of the most played cards in the format.
But it's a lesson. So
you'll definitely still good.
You will play that, and it's another option.
A lot of decks play like 2 or 3, 4 versions of that.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is Cycle of Renewal, which is 2 and a green for an instant lesson. Sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle.
This is a rolling regrowth effect. We've seen a couple versions of this. It's a little worse than Harrow, which comes in untapped, but still an instant. So this card's definitely going to be on the list.
Yep, still a card that sees a lot of play. All right, next is Curious Farm Animals. 1 white mana for a 1/1 creature, Boar Elk Burdox.
Yes!
When this creature dies, you gain 3 life, and you can pay 2, sacrifice this creature, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment.
Yeah, this is a Caustic Caterpillar in white. It's cheaper than Cathar Commando, but slightly more expensive to activate. It's a little worse because holding up the 2 mana is harder than holding up a 1 mana, but it is really good with whites like Tutor Suite, where it finds 1-drops.
Yep.
There is also
and brings them back.
And brings them back, yeah. So there is also a Cathar Commando that doesn't have flash. It's Inspired Insurgent. It's a human peasant ally that does the Cathar Commando thing, kills an artifact or an enchantment. It's going to see some play as well.
Yep, for sure. Both are good. All right, there is a card called Ember Island Production. It's 3 blue for a sorcery. You choose one, either create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it's not legendary, and it's a 4/4 hero in addition to its other types, or you create a token that's a copy of target creature an opponent controls, except it's not legendary. I don't know why that part matters. And it's a 2/2 coward in addition to its other types. Cowards can't block warriors.
And they're worse than heroes in this case. The flavor here is hilarious, but most importantly, this is another clone that is non-legendary, which is highly sought after in this format. Up next is Longshot Rebel Bowman, 3 and a red for a legendary creature, human rebel ally. It's a 3/3 with reach, not to be underrated. Reach is huge. It says non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Longshot deals 2 damage to each opponent. This is great. It's going to be good in artifact decks. It's going to be good in spells decks. It's a gutter snipe with a cost reduction, and it blocks.
Yeah, I mean, Gutter Snipe is 2 and a red for just the last ability. So for your 1 extra mana, you get Reach, +1/+1, and non-creature spells cost 1 less to cast. This feels like really good, like aggressively costed.
And artifacts, because Gutter Snipe's only instants and sorceries.
It's non-creature spells. I mean, it's Planeswalkers too. It's enchantments, right? Like it is. When you add it all up, it's like, Gutter Snipe sees a lot of play, and this looks pretty good in comparison.
Definitely powerful.
All right, the next one is Origin of Metal Binding. It's 1 and a green.
Metal Bending.
Metal Bending. Yeah, binding wouldn't make sense. Origin of Metal Bending. It's 1 and a green for an instant lesson. Choose one, destroy target artifact or enchantment, or put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It gains indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah, this is sort of a mini collective resistance, a card I really like a lot. Protection or removal is a great spot, especially that it's still at instant speed. We're moving on to the next one. This is one of the most powerful ones, but there's just not a lot to say about it. It's Redirect Lightning. Single red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, pay 5 life or pay 2. Change the target of a target spell or ability with a single target. So this is a deflecting swat that costs you 1 mana, or like a Bolt Bend, but you don't need to have a 4-power creature in play. It's going to be good. 5 life is worth it if you can save the best thing, or even the game. I really like these kind of effects against Bojuka Bogs, or like Graveyard Hate.
Yeah. I like them against Time Stretch, but okay.
That too. Ooh.
The mechanism. I've done that like once in my whole career.
I did get to deflecting swat the you draw half your deck and lose half your life once. It was in CEDH, and I was playing Winota, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that my deck. I can't win the game.
But I have to do this. Yeah, I like that. The Mechanist Aerial Artisan is next. It's 2 and a blue for a 1/3 legendary creature, human artificer ally. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a clue token. I don't know why it doesn't say investigate.
Yeah.
And then you can tap it to until end of turn, target artifact token you control becomes a 3/1 construct artifact creature token with flying. So you can turn those clues into 3/1 flyers if you want to.
Yeah, likely blockers if you're doing that. Mostly this is going to be there to make you clues.
Yeah, when you cast non-creatures and make a piece of cardboard.
Yep.
That is good.
Trail of Evidence, Forensic Gadgeteer sees tons of play in Commander, and this will likely as well as Redundancy. Finally, we're going to talk about Master's Guidance. This is 2 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever you attack with 2 or more legendary creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target attacking creatures. And at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. So this smells like a Colossal Majesty for sure, but Colossal Majesty draws it on your upkeep is the big thing. This is on your end step.
Which is better.
Definitely better. It makes the sequencing a lot less awkward. Yep. Colossal Majesty is like, do I cast this first or do I cast my 4-drop? And if I already have the 4-drop.
And also on future turns, it's just a lot easier to play a big creature, go to your end step. There's a lot less time between those two things happening than play a big creature, get to your upkeep.
Yeah. The +1 counter thing is going to be likely gravy. If you can trigger that, great. But mostly it's in here to draw that card.
Yeah. Do you think that you should only play this if you have some chance of you have like at least 10 or so legendary creatures? Or do you think you can just play it for that last part?
I would play it for that last part. I think most decks have a chance at triggering this. If you got 10 legendaries in the deck, that's not crazy these days.
Because you only need 1 plus your commander, right?
Yeah. So I think most decks can sort of figure out how to use that first line, and the second line is good enough, especially when a lot of the other like green draw spells that are 3 mana can get kind of expensive.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, and maybe we didn't make the point clearly throughout the course of the whole episode, but a lot of cards and a lot of misevaluation happens on cards when you think you need the whole thing. Yeah. There's a lot of times when it's like, oh, just this is good, and the other part is not a downside. So I would play the whole card. Obviously, I can't take just half of it, but like sometimes newer players will look at cards and be like, well, I don't like that second part. I can't really do it. And you're like, yeah, but just the first part's good enough. Like, yeah. So a lot of cards kind of fall in that category where it's like the first part is just like on what's this called? Master's Guidance. That's just gravy. It's totally fine if you're just like, I have a lot of creatures that are big enough to draw me cards here.
Yep. We're fine with just potatoes.
Yep. Okay.
So we've talked about a ton of cards.
Jeez.
Some of them exceptionally powerful. Some of them have been a little bit of a warning.
There's probably more like, whoa, cards in this set than any on memory for me.
And there's more. Like we had to cut down this episode to make it relevant. There's like the Aang that airbends a thing when he comes in is great, but I was like, it's 2 colors. We've seen this kind of effect before where we have
a whole episode about legendary creatures.
Yeah. It's absurd.
When we went to our favorite cards, I'd say that this is like one of the few times I can remember having a larger list that I needed to cut down. And there's often been sets in the last few years where honestly, like I even have trouble like picking one standout card that I really care that much about, where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of instant, cool stuff. And, or it's very often there's like, oh, it's that one. Nothing's even close. This was one where I'm like, geez, there's like 5-6 cards here that I could pick as my favorite cards of the bunch. There's just a lot of cool stuff.
We're going to talk about our favorite cards in this set. We're going to talk about the one that we think is the most powerful of a very powerful set. But before we do that, if you want to buy any of the cards that are in this episode, go to cardkingdom.com/command. Card Kingdom has a ton of cards all in one place. If you're like me and you're a big fan of Avatar, you can go there and buy all the characters that you want and know what the powerful cards are. Or you can just get all the cards that you know about. You're like, I'm going to need 4 redirect lightnings. I'm going to need at least 3 of the boar, ox, pig, bird.
Badgermole Cubs.
But yeah, all of those. Like you can get them all in one place and you just add them to the cart. You know that they're coming. You don't have to chase a million packages through the mail. It's really nice to have a place that you know is convenient and trustworthy and has all the cards you're looking for in one spot. So you can support the show if you use our affiliate link if you shop at cardkingdom.com/command.
And of course, once you get those cards, you want to keep them protected. Ultra Pro makes the game accessories that we use ourselves here at the Command Zone. If you go to ultrapro.com/command, you can find all kinds of cool deck boxes, sleeves, playmats. I want to say they're printed sleeves. The Apex sleeves are the best printed sleeves on the market. They have just a buttery shuffle feel. The printing looks great. It is really hard to get those two things on the same product. For years and years and years, anybody who's been playing Magic for a long time, we know that like in the past, anything with a printed background was pretty tough. Just the process of printing an image on the background of something made it so that the sleeves were, by anybody, were like hard to shuffle. They would break apart all the time. And then Ultra Pro really worked for years and years. I know, because we were talking to them about this process on the Apex technology. They built a whole machine that like tested the seal strength and everything. And they, really, really went deep on like how to create a printed sleeve that's going to feel like, the best shuffle feel you've ever had. So Apex sleeves, definitely check them out. ultrapro.com/command is the best way to do that while getting, the game accessories you want and supporting our content.
And don't forget, we've got a Kickstarter going. Check out the link in the show notes to be all about it. They're awesome. They look really, really cool. If you support the show, if you pick up the playmat, you support the show and get these like really sick dual playmats.
Yeah, Justine Jones, who's known for doing a lot of magic arts.
She's the coolest.
Yeah, she did a great job on these. They look beautiful. And when you get both of them, yeah, it looks really, really sick.
Alrighty, let's talk about our favorites from today. We talked about a ton, maybe more in this episode than we've ever talked about in the 99.
I think so.
It feels outrageous.
How long have we been here? Is it probably...
I don't know.
Yeah. I've lost track of the time.
You said you had a list of cards that you pared down. Where did you land on your favorites?
I landed on 2. I started with 5 though.
Yeah.
It was hard. Like I was like, and hard for the I could pick any of these 5, I would be happy.
Yeah.
So Unagi of Kyoshi Island was definitely like a very me card, and we both were blown away by the card, and it was hard for me not to acknowledge of the cards we read today, very likely that's the one I will put in the most decks.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But my second favorite, I really wanted to call out Obsessive Pursuit.
Yeah.
Which is the clue blossom or whatever, the one that like gets you a clue, and then every turn you get a clue and lose 1 life, and then has that extra bonus of putting 1/1 counters and sometimes giving lifelink based on the amount of things you sack that turn. I just love the efficiency of this card. Of course, I had to pick a 2-drop somewhere as one of my favorites. I always do. That card has so much going on. I just love cards like that. Where I'm going to get so much out of this thing. Like I'm going to pay 2 mana, and over the course of this game, I'm going to get like 5 clues, a bunch of life, get an extra 6 or 7 power. I just feel like I got such a deal.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is the kind of card that is the best card in some decks, right? Where you're like, oh, it's totally different if I have this card in play versus if I don't.
Yeah.
And those kind of cards feel like really important puzzle pieces.
Yeah, and it's going to be tricky too, because you're going to have these lines where like, okay, I play this, which will allow me to sack these 3 things, which will allow this thing to get that big, which, or I have this other line where I can sack the clues, draw some cards, Yeah,
it's tricky. Gosh. And I could use my mana just cracking clues, you know?
Which is, I love to do that.
It's pretty
Nothing
nuts.
wrong with that. What's your favorite card, Rachel?
So this one was also tough. There's a few that I really liked. There's a few we didn't even talk about today that I'm like, I really like the Appa, but we already talked about it in the
the
Commanders.
Appa's so good.
The Appa's awesome. We already talked about it in the Commanders episode, so I didn't want to talk about him here. So today I really like Wan Shi Tong, the Librarian.
Yep.
I like the flexibility of it. I like that it has flash. I like that it flies. And this character is awesome and really foreboding and cool in the show. So I think that's a really special card in the set. I think the card that I'm like most excited to see how it feels is Avatar's Wrath, though.
I wrote it down here. I was like, nobody said that.
Yeah.
It was on my list of 5, and so was Wan Shi Tong. So
yeah, so we're covering them. But Wan Shi Tong, the Avatar's Wrath is one of those cards that it's like, I haven't been able to cast it in that moment yet, and I just know it's going to be like, oh, the game is over. You don't know it yet, but it is over.
Yeah,
it's powerful.
Yeah, it was in the running for most powerful card for me. I think there's an obvious answer, which I'm sure we both would say, and then my backup answer was Avatar's Wrath.
Yeah,
but I also think what's the monk
Gyatso,
who's another one that I think is very, very powerful.
He's super cool too.
Okay, well, let's talk about the most powerful card in the 99. I'll go first because mine's boring, I think, but one of us had to say it. It's it's Badgermole Cub, which I think is sort of clearly the most powerful card in this set. I'll be surprised if it doesn't end up that way. I would say Avatar's Wrath has the best chance of being sort of the one we overlooked that's actually in first place, but Badgermole Cub, it's just really hard. There's no way it's a bad card.
Yeah.
It's either the most powerful card in the set or top 2 or 3 for sure.
It's definitely going to be the most powerful in 1v1. In Commander, it's a little bit more narrow, but it's just not that narrow. Like, this card's insane. Even if you blink it and you just keep like earthbending one.
Yeah,
and
I was thinking like I could just put it in my blink deck.
Yeah, because then you have like 4 1/1s that all tap for 2 mana. Like, it's effectively a mana doubler in that case.
It's just really good. Yeah.
The card's really good. Badgermole Cub was definitely the one that I was looking at. The Unagi of Kyoshi Island is definitely one that I was like, I think this will be like the big splashy card of the set. It is 5 mana, so it's hard to be like, this is the one that's going to change everything. But I did want to mention Redirect Lightning because we moved through it pretty quick. But red just doesn't have a ton of really efficient SWAT effects. That's why Deflecting SWAT's so powerful. That's why Bolt Bend is so expensive now. So having another option there that is only 1 mana for you to hold up and doesn't have that like narrow downside of you have to have this creature in play to redirect it, I think it's just going to see a ton of play. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Those kind of red disruption spells are such huge blowouts in Commander where
they're huge swings.
Yeah. So I love to see another version of this effect. I hope it's not blindingly expensive, although I expect it will see a lot of play. So it will be a big one to hang on to.
All right, very cool. What a set.
Woo.
What a set.
What a set.
Yeah.
It felt like it kept going. It took me ages to go through all the cards because I was just like, I feel like we got to go back to this one. So.
Yeah, because we were looking through and we were like, every set, it's like, okay, do we need to talk about all these? Should we cull anything down? Is there anything where there's not much to say? And we just kept going back to like, nope, we got to talk about this.
I just want to say it. Yeah, like it's nuts.
Yeah,
all right.
Pretty awesome. Okay, before we go, I know it's been a long episode, but I did want to do an end step, which is something cool outside the world of Magic. Because there's a podcast I've been listening to that I think a lot of people out there would like if they checked it out and like to support things that I like. So maybe they'll get to keep making it. So there's a podcast called Solar, which is an audio drama podcast, which is like voice actors and like, it's like an old,
like a radio play?
Yeah. Like classic War of the Worlds or whatever.
Yeah. They're sick. My friend has one too.
Yeah. So it's a sci-fi. I won't get into the plot too much, but Gaurav turned me on to it because I think he knows one of the writers for the show or the creator or whatever. And yeah, I've been really enjoying it. So you can find it on Spotify or anything else. It's just called Solar. Helen Hunt is one of the voices. Ooh. Alan Cumming. It's really well done. They do some really cool like sound editing stuff, and if you like listen to it in your car or with headsets, like they do really good sound. Like it feels like it's all around you. It's really cool.
Really
so
cool.
Anyway, just wanted to give it a shout out. There'll be a link in the show notes if you want to check it out.
Yeah, we should just say that like in Hollywood, if you ever want to watch like listen to something really really cool that like people are sort of grassroots building, a lot of audio dramas are just like people that can't really get the traction to make something in Hollywood. It's expensive to make a movie, and it is more affordable to make audio dramas. So if you like need something to listen to while you're riding a bike or running, a lot of those are made by people who really really care about a project but can't get a bigger studio to pick it up. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you listen to like Audible, you listen to like books, audiobooks, it's very similar. It's a similar experience. Yes. Yeah.
All right, that's it. We've talked about a lot. We're going to go. Before we go, we got to say thank you, though. Thank you to the team who made this episode possible. Sebastian Salazar, Karina Cruz, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Jordan Pridgeon, Jake Boss, Becky Bell, Rachel Kendra, Eric Lam, Manson Lung, Josh Murphy, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, and, of course, Jimmy Wong. We'll see you next time.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Peace.